Cotswolds. Come on in. Hello Homeworthy, my name's Caryn. Welcome to my home on the Thyme Estate in the Cotswolds.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Leo.
And I'm Sarah.
Welcome to our house in Wiltshire.
Come on in.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Laura. Welcome to my house in the Cotswolds. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Ali Allen. I'm an artist and photographer, and welcome to my home in the Cotswolds. I have a love affair with this house, and it started back in 2021 when I found this village, and I was walking down the lane that runs at the bottom of my garden, and I looked over the gate and saw the house, and I fell in love and thought that's the sort of house that never comes up for sale. And the following week, the estate agent called me and said, I have this house. And she was describing just this house, and so it felt fated. Yeah, the second I stepped inside the door, I fell in love with it, and I walked into this room and it made me feel like dancing, and that was the beginning of our love affair. The back of the house is much older. It began just as a small building and it's been extended over the years, so it's got a beautiful Georgian front. It has a little conservatory area, a glass area here, which is more Edwardian in style. So it blends, but it blends nicely all together and has different eras but held together. So it feels cosy and warm inside, and the front has an elegance. So when I first visited the house, it was more modern, and I felt that it needed to be taken back in time a little bit or softened. And I love the Cotswold, the creamy Cotswold stone, and I wanted to invite in all the tones and colours that I felt that stone brings, and it brings a warmth. And that was my colour palette, really, although my dog Delilah would say that she inspired my colour palette. But that's where all these soft pinks and creamy colours began to come together. And yeah, I went from there. And I just wanted softer textures, natural woods and woven basket, that sort of thing, and that's what inspired me. I brought with me everything that I found over the years through my styling and working for House and Garden. I've picked up bits and they all came together nicely here, because I guess within me that soft texture is what I enjoy to be surrounded by. I find it calming and it makes my home feel like a little escape from what's out there in the world sometimes. So here we are in the main living room, and this is the room when I first saw it just made me feel so happy, and I couldn't really wait to begin to put all my soft colours in here and the bits I've collected over the years. But the fireplace here was a main point of inspiration. I found this fireplace and it just brought the whole room and the elegance of the room to life. And from there I worked to create the space. During winter time I like to work with dried flowers, and I created this to go over the top of the mantle, and it stays there all year because it just makes me dream of flowers even in the winter. I love collecting and making ceramics. I make ceramics myself, and I love candlelight, so that all these elements are always around, but also other ceramicists. There are lots of local ceramicists around Stroud, and I pick up bits at the market, the local market, from local artists. I like to find old pieces of furniture. Sometimes I adjust them a little bit. I might lime wash them to give them a more subtle feel. and so that they work with a soft palette. These paintings here, I spent last year doing a series of paintings around full moons. I promised myself that I would paint every full moon for a full year, which amounts to 13 moons. And this was one of the paintings I did, working my way through that series, which became a really interesting journey. And I like to paint some of the images nearby. There's beautiful open common land, which in the summer gets this feeling of the sunlight coming through, dappling through lots of little cowslips. And I get inspired by local landscape. The curtains behind the lamp are raw silk that I found on eBay. I couldn't believe my luck because they fit in this big window, and they're a lovely raw silk. And this lamp here I found at a local antique shop. I just was like, wow, shades, just amazing. They told me that it's made from some bridal gown, some bridal coat. That's where it was made from originally, which kind of made it, and it's got this lovely braiding, and it's got a kind of orientally painted in style base. But I just loved it, and the colour, I was like, this is perfect. It's one of those lucky finds in local antique. So near here we have mill spaces, and one of them has this really eclectic antiques, and you get really good finds in there sometimes. This was probably added as an Edwardian addition, because these lovely curved features here indicate that. This sofa I found when I was living in Brighton for a year. There was a fantastic shop down there that I found this in, and it was the only one they made. But I love its simplicity and that it's covered in this lovely old textured linen, hand-loomed linen. My cushions are from Graham and Green, and they have a shop in Bath and Portobello in London. And they always have a great collection of all sorts of bits and bobs for interiors. And I've worked doing styling and photography work with them often, so they become good friends. And yeah, it's a go-to. It's a go-to for lots of bits for the interiors. I moved the lights from the middle of the room I strategically place them because the lighting feels much softer that way, so it's not all central, and you can have to hang them a little lower or off-centre makes the lighting feel much softer during winter, and not like it's all coming from the centre of the room. So it's a bit like emulating daylight, natural light, as if you have it coming from the side, and it feels softer. And then this radiator is an original old Victorian reconditioned radiator with the lovely detailing here. The colour here is an original Farnball colour called Cord, which is like a greeny gold colour. So I wanted to pick up that greeny goldy colour, which I feel sits really well with the peachy pink tones, the plastery tones, which I love. This is probably my favourite area because I love the view out of the window. You can see roses and honeysuckle, and in spring all irises, and horses and chandeliers. What more could you want in life? So he's called Sid, in fact, this was, and he came out of the window of my favourite flower shop in London called Scarlet and Violet. And she was redoing the shop and selling off a few bits and bobs. And I asked about the horse, and she was really happy for him to come out to the Cotswolds. So he lives here now. And I adore horses. So for now, this is my horse. One day, hopefully, there'll be a real one. In the corner here, peonies from the garden, and this lovely little table, which was another lucky find in the antiques store. And this is a ceramic light that I make. I made these using paper clay and allowing it to just fall and then smoothing it out. And yeah, it's a really therapeutic process for me, that, because you kind of have to let go of the outcome and just smooth all the curves out. It's very grounding. These two little chairs are from a vintage French store on eBay, so they came from France. And Delilah's a big fan, aren't you, Lila? Lila, is this your chair? she feels she looks very pretty on there. They're lovely. The golden tones, especially in the sunlight. It's beautiful. And this year the roses have reached up through the window, which is lovely. That's my favourite rose, David Austin rose, called Wootton Hall, and it's got the most amazing scent. Yeah, I wish I could send that through to you. It just smells rosy and aniseedy all at once, and it's the most pretty peachy pink colour. All the little wall lights that I have around, through a lady who lives, she's also a photographer, she lives near here, and she's really clever at finding bits and bobs, and she had a great collection when I moved here of little glass chandelier wall lights, and so that's where they came from. They just fit perfectly. This cupboard over here, I bought the pieces separately in Kempton, at Kempton Market. I just like the panels, and in fact my neighbour when I was in London saw the panels and said, I can make that into a cupboard for you, and I just let him, and this is what he created. So it's been with me ever since, and in there I hide all my art books and copies of World of Interiors. And there's generally different paintings along here depending on what I'm working on at the time. It's all my palette. This is an ecclesiastical piece. It's out of a church. There's a lady who lives not far from here, and she collects things in Portugal, or brings back things from Portugal, all sorts of different baskets and bits, the interesting bits. And often she has old bits that are just being thrown out from churches, and I just loved it. I just thought it would be. It has just soft, worn, ancient gold, and that lovely decorative carving. And yeah, she gets bits like that. And whenever she has one, she sends me a little message, and I'm like, rush over, have a look. So I like having just pieces. It's like a piece. It's just a handmade piece of art, and it's inspiring to have around. Yes, I definitely like older pieces of furniture. I get a feeling really for something, a piece of furniture or a fabric or a texture. It feels good, it makes me feel happy or comforted, and that's what I go with most of all. I just enjoy older things because they feel like they have a history. They're often well made, and they might need a little bit of restoring, but they've got good bones, and that I think that's always good in a house itself and in furniture. I love handmade things, in fact, especially if you meet the person who's made it, the artist or furniture maker, and you make a connection, and you can feel the love that they put into it. I think you feel that when you're surrounded by it. Here in the kitchen I made quite a few changes because I wanted to pare it back and add in some natural wooden textures. I sourced the big sink all the way from the other side of the country in East Anglia in Norfolk from a reclamation yard because it was the perfect creamy tone, and I like the big size. And I replaced the windowsill with an old oak beam that had been aged. It had been sitting in the garden. I just found it there, and it was just perfect. The walls are lime plaster and give that lovely soft texture and creamy colour. And the lights are from a place called Retruvius. They are based in Kensal Rise, where I used to live in London, and they have a great collection of finds they find all over the place, and their lighting is always spot on, not over the top. It's all reclaimed and old. This has a lovely old mirror inside. My favourite part is this little shelf that I always am arranging with flowers and pots I've made and herbal teas and one of my lights. It always gives me pleasure, that shelf, because the light hits the flowers just here, and I could photograph on that corner every day. The limestone is local, and I put this as a worktop here. It's the only part that's tall enough for my now 6'3" son, who's become a chef and moans that everything else is too low. But it's a great surface to work on up here. And then the Aga keeps us all warm in winter and sits nicely in this Cotswold stone archway. That's the dog water bowl. But it's perfect just there, isn't it, Layla? I think originally this would have perhaps been a bread oven or had a little fire, because there's a little hole that goes up. So I keep my cutlery here now, and it's a very important watering station, isn't it? And my dining table is an old French farmhouse table. Came from Bristol, in fact. And the chairs I had recovered in old linen. They're old French chairs. I like to have a mixture of different chairs because I feel like they're different characters sitting at the table. And it feels more easy. I kept the plaster wall here because I just love that plaster colour, and it's a great surface to shoot. I shoot cookbooks and food often, and it's a great backdrop, and it's a great soft coloured, textured background for any still life shots. These are all the roses in my garden, which this time of year, it's just heavenly, and the scent. And then you come down in the morning, the scent of the roses fills the whole room, which is glorious. And yeah, I have, since I moved to the countryside, I got very into my herbs and as well as flowers. And I have a great friend who makes tinctures and herbal remedies, and she comes here to my garden and we make together little rose potions for heart opening, and rose and teas and mint, and yeah, I very much enjoy all of that. Connecting to the nature outside and bringing it into the home, whether it be medicinal or just to bring joy and open the heart. That's what I do a lot of in this space here. These cupboard doors were from, there was a guy that used to be not far from here, and all he did was doors, old doors, and he had a big vat of something that he dipped them in and got rid of the old paint. And these just fitted perfectly on this cupboard. I got really lucky with that. So I keep glasses in there and food store. But I love the bleached wooden effect. It's just the same soft textures that sit happily against the Cotswold stone. And this wall, I have a collection of paintings that change according to the seasons, the moods. It's a nice wall to do that on. The garden for me is a very special place. It surrounds the house 360, and it holds the house in this beautiful protected space. And that energy of the garden radiates through the whole house too, especially in this room, which is beautiful and light, and you can see the garden on 3 sides. And I feel like there is something in the garden that really makes you feel very connected to nature, and it's a very healing space, and that's what I needed when I came here, and it's brought me back to maybe that place that you find within you, like that only nature can do. So this is my rose and peony, or my rose and peony beds that I planted when I first got here 5 years ago, and now they're this tall and they are my happy place. So every time I come and go from my house and my garden, I get the scent of rose and peony, and it fills me with joy, especially in the evenings when the scent is super strong in the air. And the other side of here, I've let the grass grow long, and so the bees and the insects are just also in their happy place. So since I came here, I learnt lots about roses. My favourite are the David Austin roses, which are sprinkled amongst these peonies. But the combination of the two for me is the absolute best. And in fact, rose, the vibration of the smell of rose is the highest vibration that you can get, and it's the best cure for grief, or the best relief, should I say, that rose remedy. And so this space is really a healing and wonderful place to be. This is my studio, or I've adapted it to my studio. It's the old, used to be the old orangery, I believe, or greenhouses, Victorian greenhouse, lean-to greenhouse. I just love this space. It was one of the reasons I bought the house. The sage has gone crazy, and the sound of bees is just magnificent. The sound of bees humming is in fact another very healing sound. So just to stand here and listen is an honour in itself. So we make our way through the sage and the bees. This is another happy space for me, especially in the summer months. I just can spend all day painting in here and making my lamps. I've used 2 in here to create this sort of atmosphere with the lighting, and it's so light and bright that it's the perfect spot for painting. I love the texture on the walls. I just left that organically as it is, and you can see out into the garden, although this year my hollyhocks have got so tall I can't see beyond them right now. But I've kept roses outside the windows here as well, and the scent wafts into the studio and mixes with oil paint and clay, and that is a happy place. And through the doorway here is an old passion flower that's growing up and just winds its way around and keeps this room cooler and shady. This is an old Victorian planting shelves, and one day I've got ambitions to grow scented geraniums in here. So when I was a very little girl, my dad told me that he used to take him hours to get me around the park because I would smell every rose. So I think that my heart is with roses and the garden, and that connects me to this palette and sensitivity to what I'm surrounded by. So I've always had that, and at school I loved art. I've always loved life drawing, painting, art. And I went on to art college for a little bit, and then I went to London, and I found myself doing sets with World of Interiors, painting walls with concrete and covering furniture in striped wallpaper and doing all sorts of exciting set building things, which I loved. And then I worked for House and Garden for some time, doing styling and all sorts of different shoots with fabrics and furniture, and I even took some sun loungers to Leicester Square once, and we used to always try and push the boat out and see what we could get away with our editor. And that's where I got more and more into my interior design and pulling things together to make a composition or with a photograph. And from there I took it on and learnt how to do photography. And when I left House and Garden, I went freelance and worked as a photographer doing interiors and food and lifestyle, which I really enjoyed, meeting lots of different people and characters. This space has a whole different light. It's got a more moody light, which sometimes is nice to create a different mood with photography. And in winter, it has underfloor heating, so I come in here and paint and draw in winter because it's a little bit cold outside in my studio, which is in the garden. I've layered lots of different tones of pink in here, and that also makes me feel cosy and warm in the winter. And I love the view going through this doorway into my dining area, but also from the dining area looking through this way, I get to see this cupboard, which in fact, it was the only space that it would fit. It came from my house in London. I bought it in the Golborne Road near Portobello many years ago, and I love it dearly. And inside I have all my bits and pieces I've collected over the years, or little treasures I found, and I get to see that when I sit at the table and look through this view. And yeah, it's dear to me, that cupboard. It's come with me, but it's very tall and thin, so this was the space for it. I keep postcards from my favourite photographers that I've known over the years, or from people that have sent me images that I love. And I have some ceramics by my friend who lives locally, who they're just the most textured, lovely, handmade ceramics. She lives just 10 minutes away, and she's also a very talented photographer. And ribbons. I love ribbons. Little silk old ribbons that I found in markets, and a little rose here that I've worn to special events. There's even a little dried daffodil here, but it's just got the palest, prettiest yellow. I get lots of colour inspiration from things like this. Well, I love flowers. I've always loved flowers, and during years doing styling, I've always had to do flower arrangements in all sorts of different places and settings. So it's still something I love. And I learnt with a couple of ladies in Bath who run courses. I learnt a lot more there, but it's for me just putting the colours and different shapes and textures and letting them sit naturally. I really enjoy doing that. So I always like to have something on this table. During winter it's dried flowers, and then in summer it's flowers from the garden like this. These are called, I think, Victoria plum. They're big, giant poppies. I just love that crinkly, papery feel. And foxgloves. Foxgloves are always brilliant. They are all light and airy and give you that height. This painting is inspired by a lady called Candice Webster, and she works in South Africa in Plettenberg Bay with a herd of horses, and I went to visit her in March. She does healing work with horses, and her herd work energetically with you and clearing, and it's magical, really magical. And this is a painting inspired by her and one of her horses. In fact, I did it before I went to see her, and it turned out that this horse passed away the day before I went for my session with her, so it made it even more magical. And so I treasure it deeply, that painting now. And the other paintings here, all to do with the journey I went on with the moon last year. And in fact, a lot of them now remind me of Plettenberg Bay, so I think I was feeling that trip before I even got there. This came out of my garden. This was a plum that appeared. It was a beautiful purple plant. It was normally orange. They're like little orange lanterns, but this one was purple. And I just loved the shape it made, and so I dried it and kept it here. I like the organic feel in this corner. These came from Marrakesh. It's just an organic collection of things that I love. I love to have little spaces that inspire me every day. Things that, forms or shapes or colours that come together, and they just bring you moments of joy when you see them and how the light hits them. I like people to feel welcome, relaxed, and to soften a little, to feel like a sanctuary, perhaps, that you can just feel safe in and calm. My brother-in-law always falls asleep when he comes here. I think that it's nice to go into a home and feel surrounded by beautiful things, and I think I use a certain palette which I feel makes a calmness and a connection to nature that allows people to feel calm, I hope, when they enter the house. So now I'm going to take you upstairs to see the bedrooms, but just to show you on the way up the staircase, there's a beautiful spiralling staircase, original feature in the house, and this little cupboard fitted perfectly here. And I couldn't really keep my paint on the canvas, so I've extended it onto my walls just here. And it's just part of bringing that beautiful garden energy up into the house and up the stairs. This is my bedroom, and the first night that I spent in this room, when I arrived at the house, I saw the sun rising in one window and I could still see the moon in the other, and I knew that it was the house for me and I'd made the right choice. I love old French beds, and this one's covered in antique linen as well. I love linen, bed linen. I just like crinkly, soft linen, and in winter and summer, it just is the nicest thing to sleep in. And I like to layer up the soft colours on my bed too. This came from Morocco, Marrakesh again, which is one of my favourite places. And I have, this is an old cupboard I found at Kempton. It's a Hungarian cupboard, and in here I have pictures of my family, and it's almost like a little shrine that I keep for people that I love. And I have crystals in there and a singing bowl, and it's like a little special, extra special space in my bedroom. I painted a few murals on the walls. I just love to have, I think I just can't keep on the canvas, but it's reminiscent of magnolia flower, which is my favourite tree. And so there, I can keep it there all year round. And this is an old French chair that I found in a market, and I had it recovered. It's got vintage velvet on the side and a cream linen on the front. And this is a little old eiderdown that I found at a French market. And so it just all comes together nicely, I think. Again, a collection of ceramics made by my friend, local friend. And these are Sophie Cook vases that, in fact, I think were on my wedding list. They've been with me a while. And I have horses here in my bedroom too, because it's great energy always to have horses in the house. I keep the curtains are old French linen sheets. I like to have the light coming through even early morning in the summer, because I like to wait really with the light and keep that circadian rhythm through the seasons, and you get to wake up later in winter that way too. The lace detailing on the edge of these antique sheets can be really lovely with the light coming through it. So it's really pretty. And then I keep the greenery around the edges just frames the window beautifully, and the view through to the woods across there, which changes during the seasons. Since I moved from the city to the countryside, what I enjoy the most is feeling each season, the changes, and following that rhythm. I think it's so good for our nervous system. This was a much more formal dressing area, but I had this huge old French wardrobe that I needed to fit somewhere, and it just fitted perfectly in there, so I managed to make it a bit more me, less formal. And again, I painted flowers in the corner, and I made a little doorway that goes through to my bathroom, so that it now is, I believe that's called a Jack and Jill, where you've got two entrances. And again, that was the doorman that I found, a little door that fitted perfectly in this space. It's a little bit smaller than the average size. And this is my bathroom, and you can lie in the bath and watch the moon. That's one of my favourite things to do, is to fill the bath with herbs and flowers from the garden and watch the moon through the window. And I feel like a really, really lucky girl at that moment. All the taps, I found the bath on eBay, but it's actually an original Victorian bath. And I found the taps also they are old solid brass taps, and I love that combination. I took out the modern bath because I felt like this was much more in keeping. I put in the floor here, which is it's a herringbone terracotta tile, and that makes me feel like I'm on holiday too, maybe in Italy or the Balearics or somewhere. And so I lie in my bath, and feel like I could be anywhere, which I love. It took a little bit of persuading the electrician to do this. He felt like it was definitely against the rules and had to warn me that I mustn't change the light bulb while standing in the bath. So I promised him I would never do that, but I loved the idea of a little chandelier above my bath, so it's on a dimmer, and when I'm having that special bath with flowers and herbs and looking at the moon, I have this low lighting with just the sparkle of a chandelier. And behind it here is an old mirror. It's got a velvet edging. This was another find from the lady who brings things from Portugal. She always finds unusual things, but the colour, that gentle terracotta softness, and the old mirror. It's always best to see yourself in an old mirror, I think. It's very forgiving. And the taps over here are from Marrakesh as well. And again, an old mirror. I like the unusual form of this, and this was a bowl that I'd had for a while, and I converted it into a basin. And this table I kept outside for a while to make the wood just take that on that grey tone, so it sits nicely with the plaster wall. And again, this is an outdoor light that I found in the south of France in a market a while ago. I used to have it outside, but the electrician was more happy about that because it's watertight. And again, it just gives a nice feeling within the room when you want to have a quiet bath, and even when we're in those long winters, soft lighting. This room, I love the texture on the stone here. I picked up on the blue colour in the stone. I think this would have been above the fireplace originally, and I believe that these marks in the stone were in fact, it would have been lime plastered. It was taken off before I arrived, but it makes for an amazing texture just here. And this cupboard I inherited with the house. It sits comfortably in here with the colours. And this room is lovely because you can step right out into the garden. A home comes alive when you have the freedom to express yourself creatively within it. And when we do that and we are able to really express the inside of us, perhaps a part of us that we might not show anywhere else, honestly and authentically, it brings the space alive, and people feel that when they walk in the door. And hopefully, if you're expressing the inner, softest part of you that perhaps you can't be brave enough to express anywhere else, you can hold that in the four walls, and it gives it a soul. So I definitely agree with the statement that home is where the heart is. But home is something, it's somewhere that you can hold safe your family and those dear to you, but also something that you take wherever you go. The feeling that I have in my home here is always with me wherever I go. It's always something that I can access and feel safe in. And I think that's what a home should be. Bye, Homeworthy. It was lovely to share my house with you. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. See you soon.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.
Well, the first time I saw it, I couldn't believe the beauty of the place, actually. I couldn't believe that places just of such beauty existed. One of the things that really struck me was we do have the most beautiful river that runs through the farm, and I was standing in the river and a kingfisher brushed across my face, and that was it. I was in love. Hello, Homeworthy. My name's Caryn. Welcome to my home on the Thyme Estate in the Cotswolds. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name's Caryn Hibbert. I am the founder and creative director of Thyme and Bertioli, and I'm absolutely delighted to welcome you to the Thyme Estate today. We were looking to move out of London, and my husband was brought up in Oxford, and his cousins farmed around this area, so we knew it was a very beautiful area. And I used to spend time dreaming about living in the countryside. I trained as an obstetrician and gynecologist, and when I met Jerry, my husband, I was working in London teaching hospitals as an obstetrician. But I always have had my heart in the country. I grew up in the countryside and I loved my time in London, but the plan was always to move out and raise the children in the English countryside. So I think the complete change of career came when I actually had a pivotal moment. I was working very hard. I had 3 children very quickly. Charlie, my oldest, was only just over 3 when my youngest was born. So I very much relied on having nannies because I was off to work, and I felt huge responsibility in the work that I did. I had an operating list that people. And we used to have real continuity of care, so I used to see my patients and then bring them in and be the person that was operating on them. And one of those mornings I was due to go to work, and Charlie, my eldest, fell off the top of the kitchen worktop and cut his head open. And I can remember making the decision, saying to my nanny at the time, take him to casualty and get it stitched up. And I got in the car and I drove to work. And as I was driving to work, I just thought, this isn't what I want. I want to be a mummy, I want to be a homemaker. And I decided that I would stop for a while. And I always think that your needs of your children are going to sort of, once you've got them through the sort of baby stage, it's going to be easy. But actually, I think it's probably the other way around. As they get older, it gets more complicated. And I felt, to be honest, a real sense of liberation when I was able to really focus on the house we had in London. Actually needed a lot of restoration, and that was the first project I did, and creating a home there, and then really making the plan to move. I don't think I ever really thought that we would do such a big project as this, and certainly the house was a daunting project when we started. But it was the family connection. Jerry's cousins knew the house, and really that gave us the confidence to take the plunge. And Jerry liked it, because I would often say, should we look at this house? Nope. But this one came up, said, yep, that's fine, we'll go and look at it. And that was it. It is a beautiful part of the country, and the other thing that's nice about it is it's just a little bit too far to commute for the day into London. And I think it is what it keeps it special. Welcome to the dining room. This is the formal dining room, and in actual fact we've done really nothing to this room since we moved into the house. The house is a grade 2 star listed, so this is part of historic fabric. It's a lovely panelled room, and the interesting thing about it is the plaster ceiling. I absolutely love this plaster work. It depicts all of the animals that live on the estate. So we've got a robin, a hare, a hedgehog, an otter, squirrels, and I think it's a really charming ceiling. There's some important botanicals here, which actually I've also coincidentally drawn as well. And of course, William Morris also lived near here and drew his inspiration very much from the same sort of landscape that we're living in. And the architect that designed this house, when it was renovated in the mid-1920s, 1930, was very much influenced by Morris. And I'm just looking at the botanicals that we have up here. We have the hazel, the cobnut and the oak, both leaves that I've actually drawn and done patterns of. Pears, the strawberries, dandelions, all things that we see every day when I'm walking around the farm. On the table here, we've laid it with the fern tablecloth, which is actually the first botanical pattern that I painted, and it's part of our woodland collection. And I've laid it today with some china that I inherited from my mother, which makes it very special. So this is a cabinet that I bought when I was living in London, in Richmond. And in here I've got sort of various collections of antique glass, and this is a particularly lovely one, which is all engraved with botanical ferns, particularly lovely, I think. We like to have little snifters of something after dinner, and so I've got lots of collections of little glasses, which can take delicious things like, my husband's particularly fond of grappa, or little Grand Marnier, or a little something just to help with the digestive. These are pretty glamorous, I think. Some little Art Deco ones. So laying the table is always a lovely thing. I do enjoy making tables look beautiful, and actually botanicals are something that, you know, for me, layering botanicals on the table is just such an important and lovely thing to do, and brings the season in. And today I've got cosmos and some phlox here, and these are blackcurrant leaves actually, and blackcurrant leaves have the most wonderful fragrance. This is Cumbrian crystal that actually we had for our wedding. We've still got a few left. We had an awful lot when we got married, and now I think I need to go and buy some more. We've broken it over the years. I adore this dining room. It's not too big. We can actually fit 12 around the table, possibly 14 if there are children, with 3 at each end. But it's a lovely cosy space. It's really, I don't like too big tables because it's not possible to have conversations with everyone at the table, and I think this is a perfect size for that. We love to have Sunday lunches here, but we also love having dinner parties in, I think, probably quite an old-fashioned way. We've got some beautiful silver, and this again is some silver that we had for our wedding present. These candlesticks were my husband's parents' candlesticks. So again, they've got a special meaning for us. We've got a picture of a Brianski here, which is a view of Snowdon, which is Wales, which again is part of the world where we used to go walking a lot with my parents when I was a child. So again, a painting that I'm really fond of. All of these manor houses, they evolved over time. I mean, we have spaces that date back 1,000 years. The central hall has very, very sort of old fireplaces, and that's the way that the houses would be kept warm. And I imagine it was probably quite tough living in them. But they have very, very thick walls which make them warm. Once the house is warm, they retain the heat and they make them lovely to live in the winter with the open fires. And then in the summer, actually, these thick stone walls keep the places very cool. So, for instance, over the last few weeks, it's been very hot here in England, but if you go into the house, it remains very cool. So they're very comfortable, lovely places to live in, and they're very robust as well. You know, it's lasted over 1,000 years. So we live in it. We don't have to be precious about the house. I don't worry about, you know, children, dogs, horses. All of those things sort of are part and have been part of our lives, and the house is pretty indestructible, really. And a lovely house to live in. So coming out of the dining room into the sort of central hall in the house, first of all, this is a Saxon arch, so over 1,000 years old, dating before 1066, and it probably is architecturally the most important thing in the house. I mean, it's amazing really to think of all of the things that this is seen. I absolutely love it. I've decorated here with actually one of my wallpapers, which is part of the Cutting Garden collection, and part of the flower that's depicted is phlox. And I absolutely love it. It makes you feel sort of warm and cosy. And it's a really joyful pattern. I've collected rugs over the years, and this is a lovely rug. And I don't mind that things maybe begin to show a little bit of wear. I mean, this you can see we walk in, and it's getting a bit threadbare at the end, but that's what tells the stories of the house, I suppose. That is the grandfather clock. It was my maternal grandfather. That was his clock, and I can remember him winding that and listening to the chimes when I used to sometimes stay the night at his house. Yeah, so that's an old thing. It actually needs winding. I bought this picture quite a long time ago when I was living in London, and I thought it was actually a picture of Scotland. But actually it's a picture of the Lake District, and I just love the colours. I think it's such a beautiful landscape, and I can just imagine sitting near those sheep and maybe even going for a bit of a dip if you like cold swimming, which I think I used to, but probably not so much now. When I wallpapered in here, I imagined that I was going to probably change the curtains and redo that, and actually we ended up hanging the old curtains back up, which are a beautiful mulberry fabric, and somehow I think they work. They're sort of a bit of a mismatch, but the whole thing works, and it's a lovely door out onto the garden. I mean, this leads out onto the terrace, onto the main lawn, which is the most wonderful space, and one of our favourite places to sit. This is a lovely rocking horse that actually was my husband's father's, I think. So it is a very old piece. I've got grandchildren now, and they love to sit on that. It's a lovely family piece. Welcome to my drawing room. I mean, I think this is an extremely beautiful room. I was told by Atty Burr-Roberts, who was headed up Knight Frank here for many years, that he thought it was the most beautiful drawing room in Gloucestershire, and I agree with him. Amazingly, I haven't actually really decorated it. It is exactly as it was when we moved into the house 26 years ago. I just really put my furniture in it. I did have these sofas made for it. They are from George Smith, and I've used this wonderful pink silk velvet, which is quite faded now, but they're super comfortable. I love them. You can see quite a lot of elephants in the room, and that goes back to my love of Africa. I had a birthday party which was themed on elephants, which was a surprise party for me, and everybody bought me an elephant. So the house is full of elephants. So music is a really important part of our lives. I play the piano rather badly, but actually I've just taken that up again because I stopped for many years because I was working so hard. I didn't have the capacity to play the piano. But this is it's a Broadwood. It's called a boudoir grand. So it's slightly longer and narrower than a normal piano, and actually dates back to sort of mid 19th century, so 1850, we think. My husband was great friends with a gentleman who was an expert on harpsichords, and he was asked to build a harpsichord for the Queen. And so when I wanted to buy a piano, he said, let's get Fergie Hoey, his name, to find a piano. And he was so excited when he found this piano because he thought it was probably built at the time when actually Chopin was also writing his music. You can see these were for the candles. So it was built at a time before they had electric lights. My husband, Jerry, is a guitarist, actually played in a band with Freddie Mercury. That's his claim to fame. He was at art school with Freddie. One of his less good decisions was when Freddie said, Jerry, I'm going to do a band called Queen and I'd really like you to come and be my lead guitarist. And Jerry said, Freddie, there's no money in music, mate. Stick to graphic design. No thanks. And the rest is history anyway. But we enjoy playing and singing, and actually particularly now with the grandchildren, it's a really lovely thing to do. I've got a seed collection here, which is something that I'm particularly fond of. Some of these my brother has collected from South America, some are from the Amazon. These are some seeds that I was in the Namibian desert recently, and the elephants were crunching on these. And I'm afraid I've forgotten what they're called, but look at their wonderful form. So beautiful. And this is one I always like to show people. It's probably a little bit broken now, but this is how Brazil nuts grow. So few people actually realise that they grow in one big nut. When you cut them in two, you have all the little Brazil nuts like the segments of an orange all fitting in the Brazil nut. This is a goldfinch's nest, which is from our garden, and this is the willow seed that they use to make their nests. Amazing, really. Tiny little birds. This is an emu feathers. We were in the Namibian desert and there was this emu that had sadly was dead on the road. We didn't know what, and it was somewhere where hardly any cars go. But we stopped and picked up a few of its feathers. So this is a lovely table. Actually, it needs a good polish. We love sitting here and entertaining at this table too. I haven't laid it today, but this is a lovely place for 4 people to eat, particularly actually in winter, because you get the lovely fireplace, and it's a really sort of friendly place to entertain, and very close to my other little drinks trolley, which has got lots of antique glass on it. Again, a little drinks trolley. This actually was originally a closet for bedside, where they would have had a jug of water, and underneath here probably I've got lots of lovely little antique glasses. I bought these chandeliers from our old house in London. I mean, our house in London actually had a bigger drawing room than this, believe it or not. And I bought these are Irish crystal, and I think they're really very elegant. And I think it's a very old room. I was thinking of redecorating it, but I think I love it just the way it is. I mean, one of the things we've done is, of course, in times gone by, it would very much have been lived in with staff. And so the areas which we now live in the modern day, the kitchen, really didn't exist. So the thing that we did was look at all of the small spaces, the back of house spaces, and create a kitchen. And that was the thing that really changed the way that you live in the house, and that for us is the heart of the house now. And the other thing is how the house communicates with the gardens, and we've put 2 lovely terraces on the house, which really have given us the opportunity to have that inside-outside living. They are really extra rooms, and really we're enjoying that. They've made a huge difference to the way we live in the house. So, welcome to my kitchen. This is where we spend most of our time, and this is the room we created when we first moved into the house, which was joining together actually just a passageway with a sort of a small room which had a silver safe in it, and storage for china, and then a very much back of house kitchen. And the architect came up with this idea of this lovely stone arch, which we commissioned. And the amazing thing about this arch is it is self-supporting, so it has a keystone at the top, and there is no RSJ or rolled steel joint at the top. So it is a masterful piece of stonework. And I know that in the top we've hidden a little bottle with I think some whiskey and a little message that if anybody ever decides to take it down. It is holding up one of the original big thick walls of what was the original house, which would have been just one big hallway in here. And I'm talking about how thick the walls are. You can see that was quite a feat of engineering. This actually was the original cupboard that was in there. It's painted in, again, an Edward Bulmer colour, verdigris, and I love it. I mean, it brings a real cheerful colour to the room, and I think it's a silver white, the walls. I've got an Aga, which you know, all good English houses should have, which is actually off now because it's been so hot, but it's a wonderful thing to have on in the winter time. And certainly we've had a few orphan lambs that have been warmed up sitting at the foot of this over the years. I love cooking with an Aga. I think that nothing can get anywhere near it to how beautifully it cooks. I've been doing something I'm showing off now, but this is Meadow Sweet, which is from our water meadows, and it is the most beautiful herb. I'm going to take you down there later because the water meadows are one of my most favourite places. It actually was the favourite herb of Queen Elizabeth I, and it's called the Queen of the Meadow. It's a white frothy blossom which smells of almonds and honey, and it has natural anti-inflammatories in it. It has actually natural salicylic acid in it. So it used to be an ingredient of mead. It's in The Knight's Tale by Chaucer as an ingredient for mead. So it's got a lot of history here, but it's just the fragrance is absolutely wonderful. And one of the things I really love to do here is again bring the herb of the season and try and put it onto the plate or into the glass. And what I've been doing here is actually infusing it. This is a vodka by again one of Millie's friends has a vodka brand called Sapling. They plant a tree for every litre of vodka that they sell, and we get through lots of vodka here, and that is just infused. It's plain vodka with infused blossom, which you leave in for a very short amount of time, probably only half an hour. If you leave it in too long, you get a bitterness, but you get this gorgeous sort of almond and honey, and we're going to serve that as our cocktail of the month for July. I've also made a syrup, which again is just sugar, water, and the blossom, and we will be doing. I was discussing it with my daughter actually. I think she thought that a meadow sweet mojito would be quite nice, so we've got to try that. But it again is the most delicious, kind of fragrant cordial. I take you into my larder, so do come into my larder. Decorated with one of my fabrics, so this is tomato vine, which I painted from tomatoes that were growing in our gardens here. We've got some lovely vegetables here this morning, some lovely Swiss chard, some new potatoes. We've just dug up our first potatoes for this year, some lettuces, courgette flowers, fennel, all delicious things. This bowl is made by my friend Deborah Brett. So we started working with Deborah, probably about 8 years ago, when my daughter saw something she was making on Instagram and contacted her. And we did a collaboration with our cobnut table linen, I think it was. And she did these beautiful, beautiful bowls. She now actually has really built the business and makes beautiful porcelain in Stoke-on-Trent. That's a lovely thing. This is a plate I painted actually a long time ago, probably about 30 years ago. I love these are these Portuguese plates. And then I also have, this is the Royal Doulton that I love. Again, it's called Country Wear, but it's got the leaf pattern country wear Wedgwood. It's discontinued now, which is such a shame. I'm sure if somebody started it, it would sell very well. This is our kitchen table. I always have a tablecloth on it, always. It is actually a beautiful French elm, but I don't know, it feels so welcoming to have a tablecloth. This is actually, again, one of mine, and it's part of our vegetable garden collection, or kitchen garden collection, and I've just painted the carrots and the onions and radishes. And the idea behind the kitchen garden collection was really just to celebrate vegetables, and I thought it was quite fun to bring them into onto our linens, which we've got the radish stripe, I'll show you, which is really rather smart and quite fun. You have to look quite closely to realise that it is radishes on your wallpaper or fabric, but it's a time of year when the gardens are just full of beautiful flowers. And actually here, I think we've got a lot of sweet peas here. These are, we picked this morning, and the sweet peas have gone mad. I think they're the best the sweet peas have ever been. These lovely colours, and Rafika, my gardener that heads up the flower gardens, has done a brilliant job with them. But they're really kind of sturdy. You can look at the we've picked the whole stems, and I love the form of the tendrils and things. So I have drawn these, and I think we're going to add a sweet pea pattern to our cutting garden collection. The smell of sweet peas is such a wonderful thing. You have to remember that you can't eat them though. Sweet peas are poisonous. So I've got these lovely big bowls, which I have 3. And they're almost a bit too big really, but I bought them in I found them in Marrakesh again a long time ago, and I bought 3 from a gentleman, and I thought, how am I going to get them back? And he said, don't worry madam, I'll drive them over for you. So I realised that I probably paid a bit too much for them, but never mind. I've gone from one piece of wood, and I bought this in the Masai Mara, the Masai market in Kenya. I carried this all the way back, and I love it. So I've just decorated this little bathroom with our olive pattern. I'm really pleased with it. This is our little soap bar that we developed to go into Thyme, into the hotel rooms. And it is the most wonderful thing. It's 100% plant-based, and this is the water meadow pattern. And it's got our essential oils that grow in the water meadows here. So the leading note is the water mint, which is the most wonderful thing for wanting to make you want to take a deep breath. It washes hair and body. It's all you need in the bathroom. And I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, nah, but I promise you, it's absolutely wonderful. And it gets rid of all of the plastic from our bathroom. It's completely biodegradable paper packet. And if we all got rid of our plastic bottles that we use in the bathroom, it would be a very good thing for the planet, I think. So welcome to my bedroom. Again, Edward Bulmer, the paint, the lovely pink, and it's called Cuisse de Nymphe. This is a beautiful piece, which again was my father's, a beautiful walnut bureau, which actually I really love. I love our bedroom because it looks out onto the garden, so this is a lovely place to sit. Got a picture of the boys when they were young. And actually there's my parents getting the Queen's Award for Industry, which was, they look so young. It's a long time ago. It's my mummy and daddy there. And this are the icing flowers that Jerry and I had on our wedding cake 37 years ago. They fared quite well, I think. This fabric here is the Colfax and Fowler, the Roses and Pansies, and I think it's got to be one of my favourite fabrics of all time. When I was in London, I asked Emma Burns, who's one of the designers, the main designer, I think the lead designer now at Colfax and Fowler, in Pimlico Road, and she came out to help me do my first drawing room, and she recommended that we had this fabric. And I actually bought the cushions from there. And this is a different fabric actually, which is discontinued, which is a shame because it's also very pretty. But there's something about Colfax and Fowler, the quintessential Englishness of the way they use their fabrics. I adore it, and used to spend so much time poring over inspirational pictures of rooms that they had decorated. This is a picture of me as a little baby, and this is a painting of part of our garden by the artist Phoebe Dickinson. I don't know if you're familiar with Phoebe Dickinson, but she is the most talented artist and actually specialises more in portraits. But this is a painting she did of our circular garden with a little statue by Sophie Ryder, who also is a famous Cotswold artist. And that's a sculpture that I have of Sophie's here. So I was talking about how the house was very much set up to live with staff, and this was where the staff would have lived. And I've just recently decorated this. I have grandchildren, and this I have done for them. And I've decorated it with my wallpaper. This is cobnut, and this is their little playroom here. And then there's 3 little bedrooms, which make it sort of super cozy. And this is cherry blossom. But somehow, you didn't see it before, it's totally transformed these areas to be so nurturing and cozy and friendly for them. I'm really happy with it. And this is my actual big hallway, but also I use it as my studio. I bought this lovely big table specifically for this place when we moved into the house, and it's actually a snooker table, but it changes height so that we can play snooker or billiards and eat at it. But now I really like to sit and paint in here, and it's a lovely place to just sort of put together mood boards and things, and it's a lovely big room. So the walls, this is called Invisible Green. Invisible Green, it is an Edward Bulmer paint, and we work with Edward Bulmer a lot. I tend to almost exclusively use his paints. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but he has no plastic in the paints and uses uses natural pigments. And I think they have a wonderful sort of chalky texture to them that sort of diffuses light in a very soft way. So this was a brave decision, and in actual fact I was away on holiday skiing about 2 years ago, and I chose this colour and was quite nervous about it. And when you start painting a colour, it looks, gosh, it's going to be too much. But because we were away, they sent me pictures, and I thought maybe I tell them to stop or not. But anyway, they carried on, and when I got back, I have to say I think it's a really wonderful colour. I love the colour green. I really treat it as a neutral colour. I think it's a colour that goes with so many things. You can take it towards blue, you can take it towards the yellow shades. It goes very beautifully with pink. I think it's a very soothing colour, so I use it a lot. I have some of the patterns from the Water Meadow collection here, which again I've hand painted. So we have, this is a willow design, and these are all inspired by the Water Meadows. So we have willow here, and then wild iris, which is the iris that grows by the riverbanks. The other patterns that go with it are all sort of inspired by the plants that grow there. So there's river mint, and the scent that we've developed to go down there comes from the wild water mint, which is the most wonderful scent. It wants you take a deep breath as you walk through the meadows. This is a wonderful painting too, which I bought not that long ago, and I have to say I'm absolutely delighted with it. I love it. As soon as I saw it and spoke to the artist that had painted it, her name is Rosie Harbottle, and she is inspired by the temperate rainforests of Dartmoor, and these are all the sort of seeds all swirling in the wind on Dartmoor, and I think it's just a lovely thing. I bought it actually at the David Shepherd art exhibition that was held here recently, so raising money for conservation to their projects in sub-Saharan Africa. A place where actually I feel really very connected to, and I can talk a little bit about that when we're in the meadows. And this is another painting that I bought quite recently, and I'm just thinking about how to frame it. It's by an artist called Endelian Lysic Green, and she spent some time here, again in our water meadows, painting the orchids and the buttercups, and held an exhibition here that was organised by the Laura Lopez Gallery. I really love it. It completely immerses you in the meadows, and knowing that it has a real relevance to here makes it very special. And Endelian is actually painting for another exhibition which we're going to hold here next summer. And she's very good at really carefully observing botanicals and bringing you right into the detail. So it's another lovely painting, I think. These sheep, actually the initial prototypes that we did when I was creating some sheep sculptures for Thyme. We were opening the bar, which is called the BAA, the bar, which used to be in the lambing sheds, and I had this idea of creating some sheep seats, and we now make these at the Pangolin Foundry, which is in Stroud. It's the most, I think, probably one of the most famous foundries in the world. They make work for Damien Hirst and other amazing sculptors, and they make these for us, and we have them over there, and they bring, I think, a sense of fun and to the room, meant to make you smile. The Cotswolds are their wealth has really been built on the wool industry, and the word cot actually is the word for an old stone shelter for sheep. And the wool industry was a hugely valuable industry for the Cotswolds, and it's why you get so many beautiful houses. Unfortunately now wool isn't such a valued commodity, but it's something that we certainly really value and are trying to use in our design, and in our beauty we use wool, so we need to appreciate these wonderful natural fibres. I really didn't want to be a hotel. I wanted to be something much more than that. I mean, it is an extension of our home. I mean, it is a very personal place everywhere. I mean, it's a family business. I work with my eldest son, who runs all the food side of the business here. and my daughter, who runs runs the team, so she's the general manager of Thyme, but actually much more than that, she helps me with Bertioli. And I think I wanted it to say something. I wanted it to be more than just a place. I realised that actually being a hotel was a lovely thing. I couldn't really work out what else we could be, but I wanted to be the best, and I wanted it to really let people experience, English country living at its very best. And I think, as I say, it's an extension of our family and our home, and we wouldn't have got here without the family being really involved with it. I mean, they've given their lives to it, the children, and I have huge respect for them. They work incredibly hard, and what we deliver, I think, is something that, unless you're completely devoted to it, you're not going to get all of the attention to detail. It's so important for me to walk through it every day and like what I see. And if I see something that I don't like particularly, it has to be changed immediately. We've put a lot of love and passion into it. I love being a hotelier now. I love it. We all do. It's about looking after people, I think, and making sure that people have a lovely time. So this is our sort of kitchen garden terrace, where we love to spend time, again, with the family and friends. We've got a lovely outdoor kitchen, and this table is a lovely place to eat. It's sort of sheltered from the sun on hot days, and if it starts to rain, we're safe. This is Gaura and rosemary, and this is an old copper cheese vat, which I think came from France, which we've turned into a fountain, which I think is really rather lovely. These buildings are exactly as they were when we came here. They're really unrestored. So there's something lovely about having those really old parts of the house. Come this way. This goes to the main front of the house. This is a little gate that I commissioned from a local blacksmith, and I think he's done an absolutely brilliant job with it. If you just look at how the stem here and the tendril makes the thing here. I love it. Here we stand on the main terrace of the house, and just in front of me here is our Saxon Norman church, and it is our little church that sits in between our house and Thyme, so we are so close to each other. These are these lovely Versailles planters that again I had made by a blacksmith, and we planted these magnolias in them, and I have to say these magnolias, they are so happy here. This is a lovely place to sit after dinner or in the daytime, and these are actually patterns from our kitchen garden collection. So the gladioli, this is called Sidalcia, and this is phlox, and again lots of lovely gaura, and the Sophie Ryder at the end there. I planted these yews when we first came here, and they were actually little hedging plants, and they've now grown into this beautiful topiary. I love long grass as well, and there's certain areas that I leave with long grass and don't cut until late summer. This is a tulip tree, actually. I think we're too late. The tulip flowers have gone, but it's a lovely tree, and a catalpa, which is also another lovely tree. This is the medieval stew pond, which dates back to medieval times and was here when the house was a monastery. And it's where they used to raise carp. It's got these hay bales in at the moment because we had some swans hatched there, 7 little cygnets, and they all decided to come to the pond, and then of course the cygnets couldn't get out. So we put these hay bales there. They've actually just washed away. They're big enough to get out now, but that's the reason the hay is there, to help the cygnets climb out. We call it Swan Gate. We get Swan Gate every year. This is the river here, and actually this is where I stood when that kingfisher flew past me the first time I came came and viewed the house. And there's a sort of lovely gradual progression from the formal gardens into the meadows and then the open countryside. So we're just entering the water meadows here, over this little bridge, over our river, the River Leach, which is a chalk stream, a very rare habitat. There are very few left, and we're very lucky to have a chalk lime stream here, which is why we have such wonderful wildlife here, from otters, kingfishers, water voles, and the meadowlands here are very special. You can see everywhere the meadow sweet, and it is that time of year. The other favourite herb that I have down here is the wild water mint, so come and I'll show you some of that. As you walk through the grass here, you can just smell the beautiful fragrance sort of fills the air, and that really was the inspiration for our beauty. It's all about taking a deep breath and the healing power of nature, scent and breath, and how that can completely switch off your stress response and switch on the rest and digest. So really a wonderful thing for our well-being. And these water meadows are really my favourite place. I was here about 8 years ago. I was asked by somebody called Dr. Ollie Fox, who is an ornithologist and doing a research project in conjunction with Oxford University, and he said could he come and survey the birds in our water meadows, and I was thrilled that he would do that, and I had no idea just what a wonderful thing that would be. And I was coming back from the Okavango, and I'd always been thinking of how I could talk about my passion for conservation of wild spaces in Africa. And we landed in our jumbo jet at Heathrow Airport and drove down, and Ollie was in the water meadows, and it was in April. And I said, "How are you getting on, Ollie?" And he said, I literally can't believe it, Caryn. We have ringed this morning 5 different species of warbler. All of them just arrived and all migratory from sub-Saharan Africa. I couldn't believe it. These birds weigh 10 grams and they fly all the way here from the Congo, from the Gambia, from all over sub-Saharan Africa to have their babies here. And unless I had been working with Ollie, I would have had no idea. We've actually ringed all 7 species of British warbler here, and we have the cuckoo come here every year, which is an increasingly rare thing. So this is an important habitat, and I didn't need to look any further for why. I can talk about Africa and how we are connected to it by these amazing birds. This is our meadow here, where we have lots of lovely wildflowers. I mean, at the moment, this is a vetch, which is a sort of legume, and here again is a wild vetch which scrambles everywhere. It clearly likes it. This is knapweed, which apparently is one of the wildflowers that has the most pollen. So lovely for insects and bees and butterflies. Meadowlands are just such an important habitat, and this is a wet meadow, a water meadow, so it floods every year, so it's incredibly important for wildlife and increasingly rare. I think in the UK we've lost 95% of our meadowlands over the last 50 years. And this is a plant called yellow rattle, which was a plant made famous by Miriam de Rothschild, who was one of the first people to really extol how important wildflower meadows are. And she used to be seen scattering seeds of yellow rattle by the side of motorways. But she was proven right. It's an incredibly important plant because it is hemiparasitic. It grows into the roots of the grasses and slightly decreases the vigour of the grasses and gives space for wildflowers to thrive. So it's a thing that we want in wildflower meadows. If you're in Africa in a wheat field, however, you don't want it because it will take away from your yield from the wheat. So it's one of the biggest pests in agricultural sub-Saharan Africa. As the seeds ripen, if you pick that, they'll rattle. Meadows are changing habitats, and really they are not really wild, they are managed. And the way you manage them really is timing your mowing. So it depends when you mow as to how you influence the sward of flowers that you encourage. The later you mow, the bigger and more vigorous plants are the ones that tend to dominate, which is what's happened here, because I really don't like to mow too early. The problem is you have so many wild animals making their homes in the long grass, and if you mow too early, you really can do untold damage to little baby hares, leverets, hedgehogs, voles, all nesting in these meadows. So we do tend to mow quite late. And one of the things that really benefits from that as well is the owl population. We have 2 nesting pairs of barn owls here. Both have got about, I think, 4 babies each this year, which is really rather wonderful. And if you come down here in the early morning, you can see them hunting over the meadows. The other thing that we encourage people to do when they come down here is to listen to the bird song. And the bird song here is absolutely wonderful. And there is this amazing app called Merlin, which is an app that has been developed by Cornell University, which will pick up birdsong and identify birds for you. And it is really, really the most wonderful thing. And most excitingly, we have heard curlew here in the meadows over the last month, which is very exciting, very endangered within the UK. They didn't nest here, but you never know, they might be checking us out for next year. So watch this space. We could have nesting curlews, which would be very exciting. These are some of the willows that have inspired our willow pattern, and although they're not flowering now, these are the yellow flag iris here, which inspired the pattern of our wild iris. So all of the inspiration for these fabrics comes from this wonderful wild space. This is really all opens out now into about 50 acres of meadowlands, which is our conservation project, where we are studying and looking at all the wildlife, particularly with the birds at the moment, but it would be great to extend that into insects and more. So we're entering into the vegetable and flower gardens here, and this is Sambucus nigra, which is the black elderflower, or black elder. And my son Charlie, who is the head chef here and does all the food, specifically wanted this plant because it is elderflower, but it's slightly going over now, but it has the pink blossom. So when we make the elderflower cordial here, it's got this lovely pink hue. We've actually pruned these really hard, but I've also painted these leaves and done a pattern wallpaper with them and decorated one of our rooms with it, with bright green headboards, which is a sort of inspired by the lush meadows next to the black elder. These are all going to be beautiful cosmos here. We have lots of lovely soft fruits here. And now we go down into the main kitchen gardens down here. The lovely thing about the kitchen gardens is they overlook the meadowlands, which makes them a very lovely place to be. Welcome to my vegetable gardens. I absolutely love this place, and I'm really lucky to work with a man called Daryl Taylor, who has worked for me for nearly 20 years now. He's a chef and now leads the garden production here. But because he's a chef, he knows exactly what the kitchens need, so we can really do that soil to plate ethos here. And and we're just at that time of year when everything is starting to take off. I just explained these little black cages for you. The important thing about this is the mesh on it is really narrow, so it stops the cabbage white butterflies getting through, and is a great way to stop the problems that we might have with butterflies and other predators, but also pigeons and deer. I looked at this morning. This is a sunflower, and you just look at the beautiful form of that, and I just thought that would be a lovely thing to paint, so maybe I'll do that next. These are potatoes. We grow really early potatoes, and they're so special, the potatoes. When they're freshly dug up, waxy potatoes that can be the star of the plate. This is the runner bean. I've done a runner bean pattern as well. The one I painted had little red flowers. We've got several different varieties here. And again, this is one of my favorite things. Swiss chard. It's the most delicious vegetable, so easy to grow. Extends right into even the light early frosts. It'll survive it. It's a really one of my favourite things. And these are quince, which we planted 3 years ago, and they're a new variety that has a natural resistance to the fungal diseases that quince trees are very prone to getting. So it means we absolutely don't have to spray them, which is fantastic. So we've got our lovely pear espaliers and quince multi-stems in these lovely big pots. Here are courgettes, lots of different sorts of courgettes, different colours, and some of them we actually specifically grow for the flowers, because the courgette flowers are a lovely thing to serve deep fried in a bit of batter, or stuffed with some ricotta maybe. It's not for today, but we have 4 lovely polytunnels where we grow all our tomatoes, melons, cucumbers, and which help us be productive all year round. Agretti is a sort of succulent grass, a little bit like samphire, growing in non-brackish areas, and we pick that and serve it. I think it's on with the cod dish at the moment, but that is a lovely vegetable and rather unusual. These are blackcurrant bushes. I don't know if you've ever smelt a blackcurrant leaf, but it's the most lovely fragrance, and we've used some of its notes in our kitchen garden candle, which takes you on a walk around our gardens. We've got artichokes here. These are the part of the thistle family. And then these are also called artichokes, but they're a different sort of artichoke. They're the root artichoke, which is part of the daisy family, and has the tubers are the most delicious thing with all sorts of things in the winter time. This is a new phlox that we've grown this year, which is a beautiful blue, I think. These are different sorts of verbascum. I love verbascum, actually. I think that's lovely. Quite foxglove-like, really, but it is a verbascum. And these are a different sort of verbascum, which are perennial, so they'll come up year on year. And these are their first year, so hopefully they'll be stronger next year. We're not picking them this year. These are the sweet peas, which were actually covered in sweet peas this morning, but Rafi's obviously cut them right back, so we get a second flush of blooms. These are some lovely grasses. I absolutely love these umbellifers. This Ami has actually done really well. It struggled at the beginning because we had hares coming in and nibbling them, and we can't actually believe quite how well they've done, so quite resilient. I chose the word Thyme for here as a place because we actually started as a cookery school. All the buildings here are very listed, and we had to work with the planning authorities with very strict things of what we were allowed to do and how we were allowed to use things. And I wanted, as I say, at a place where people really took a little bit of time. So I loved the pun between the fact that it was a culinary herb, but also about slowing down and connecting to nature, immersing yourself in the land, and of course our kitchen gardens were a very important part of that initial part of the project. So that was the original thing, and then I realised that thyme is a difficult word to use in as a brand, because it's not possible to own it really. So Bertioli is my maiden name, and my parents were very instrumental in the restoration project here. I wouldn't have been brave enough to have done the journey without them really standing by my side. My father absolutely adored the barn buildings, and it was him that actually said, I'm going to restore those buildings. And he was a real somebody that loved things to be useful and have purpose, and so to create a business here that gave those beautiful barns new purpose, that ensured their survival into the next 100 years, which I think is what we've done. I mean, he also was a real purist, so one of the most important things was that we kept the buildings really humble, and kept their architectural spaces intact. We didn't over restore them, over embellish them, and actually that has been a principle that I've tried to apply to everything. But when it came to here being more than a place, I sort of refer to Bertioli as the colouring in of thyme, and using my parents and my maiden name felt like the right thing to do. And it's inspired by patterns and sense of nature. So one of the things when you have a hotel is that you need everything. You need to decorate the rooms. You need to have product that goes in the rooms, and so gradually over the past few years we have developed Bertioli into this way of living. I would say, where we have ranges of fabrics and wallpapers, tabletop, and also our beauty, which is a really important part of the brand. And for me, I'm inspired by walking through the land here, and we've arranged our collections into habitats. So we have 4 different habitats here, which talk about the plant life and the wildlife there, and their specific, so the way they smell. I mean, that's, for me, scent is a really important part of living well, and I think it's a very underestimated thing. And when you start thinking about how your room is going to smell, I think you've really got to the point where you've got all the detail right. And walking into something, it's very subliminal, but it's incredibly powerful thing, very, very powerful for our well-being. We talk about this scent being this golden thread that immerses you in nature. So our founding scent is the water meadow scent. We also have the cutting garden patterns and scent drawn from our cutting gardens. I mean, we grow all of our flowers here. When you walk through the spaces, they're all full of flowers that are in season now and have been grown and picked here. Vegetables, the vegetable gardens, again, that collection is inspired by the neat rows of vegetables that are in our vegetable garden, and that soil to plate story is very much part of your experience here. And then there's the woodland scent. We're just creating a new woodland scent, which is very lovely. So it's really about bringing the outside in. The word home for me is about family and friends, and really welcoming and happy times. Thank you so much, Homeworthy. It's been absolutely lovely having you here today and sharing my home with you on the Thyme Estate in the Cotswolds. I hope you'll come again sometime soon. Thank you.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Leo.
And I'm Sarah.
Welcome to our house in Wiltshire.
Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Leo Vaughan Williams.
And I'm Sarah Vaughan Williams.
I'm an art advisor and designer,
I work in public relations.
and welcome to our house in Wiltshire. We moved to this house because we were looking to find a house that was closer to our children's home, and I did a quick recce of this house unseen. It was in a bit of a state, and I rang Sarah up and I said, don't come and have a look at this house, because if you do, you'll want to buy it.
And the children were going to school in Oxford, and it wasn't really as close to Oxford as we wanted, but we loved it. And the garden was so charming, and they had chickens and ducks. I fell in love with it immediately. It was just adorable.
I have a great love of architecture and furniture, specifically Palladian and late 18th and early 19th century furniture and works of art. And throughout the house you'll see furniture and pieces of architecture that I put in that are inspired by Palladio and his arches, but also later inspired by the Orientalists of the early 19th century, a more Moorish style of Moorish arches. Welcome to our drawing room. So this is in the old part of the house, as you can see from the beams. It was very tired when we found it. We've recarpeted this. There's almost no paintings on this side of the room, so I painted a Roman style panelling on the walls, which is in a very pale colour, which I've done deliberately to try and keep the room a little bit light. We stripped down the shutters, and I gilded just the insides of the shutters, and we made a window seat here which wasn't here originally. And I have a love of the colour purple, but specifically I love something called porphyry, which is an ancient Egyptian stone that was loved by the Romans. The reason why the Roman senators were the only people who were allowed to wear the colour purple. It was also then used as in the Holy Roman Emperor and now in the Vatican. So you'll see a lot of purple in here and a lot of fake porphyry. And I went on a course recently, some wonderful people called Master the Art, and learned how to paint this faux porphyry finish, which you'll see on lots of the tabletop, lots of the decorations around here. My specialisation really when I was at Christie's and later was early 19th century furniture and works of art, and that led to me designing my own furniture, and this is a very good example which you'll see some of around the house, which is taken from a very Palladian shape, a Palladian arch. I have a love of all hard stones, and this is a Rosso Levanto top. The side table is also the same Palladian style, and this column here is a faux porphyry column. The sofas I designed for this room, and this lovely piece of furniture is an English early 18th century oak coffer, which came from Sarah's grandmother actually, so that's been with us for quite a long time. The timber that's used is actually quite helpful in dating it. Oak used from the 16th century to the beginning of the 18th century. Then walnut, also an indigenous timber, was used. And then in the 18th century, famously, the tax on mahogany was removed. And so the Georgian period saw predominantly mahogany being used, and more exotic woods as we found them in various parts around the world, for example rosewood, which I might be able to show you upstairs. So this is the old fireplace from the house. We haven't really done very much to it. This is a lovely old oak beam, lovely brickwork, which is the original 18th century brickwork, and a pair of these fabulous Majolica lion dogs, which I bought from home. And we've got a collection of coppers from Sarah's family house as well. And then this is another one of the few old pieces of furniture in here. This is French, it's Louis Philippe. It is walnut with a lovely marble top. This is one of my pieces of furniture. It's called the Beckford table. And it's in Indian rosewood. And obviously we have a bar above it, very useful, and one of my guitars. And this is my mother, a portrait of her painted in the 70s by an artist called Kenneth Green, who's a Royal Academician. And that has also been with us through many different houses.
When we have people around for supper, this is where we come for drinks. Before dinner, we have coffee after dinner. Leo's always very keen to have people sitting in here because it's so beautiful, but you know, people tend to stay in the kitchen. So we have to sort of urge them to come through here, otherwise people just sort of gather in the kitchen and chat and don't come in here and just see the beautiful space we have here too.
And also we can get lots of people in here, you know, because it's great. I love these little cubes. We can get lots of people in here, so we can get, you know, probably 12 people in here. It's not a huge room, but we can get that many people here, so it's great for Christmas and for Easter and for dinner parties. So
at Christmas time this looks really something, doesn't it?
Our disco ball, obviously.
Yeah, we have a disco ball in pretty much every room. And in Christmas this is a really stunning little Christmas grotto. Leo puts decorations on everything, and you know, from here we can see our beautiful orange library. So it's a great little view through to there.
Yeah. So we put down a seagrass carpet throughout this room. Very simple, and then we're lucky enough to have some lovely rugs, some of which I think I bought this at auction. This Kellim here. We have 2 rugs which came from Sarah's father's house, this one and over here. And throughout the house you'll see the same sort of thing. We try and use very simple flooring and then, if we can, some lovely rugs. And so this is our library, and I designed this very much with the sort of Moorish influence in mind. So it's still early 19th century, Orientalist, inspired by all of those collectors and some of the great houses like Sezinkot, Brighton, hence the Moorish arches, which I painted purple and then gilded over the top. This table, we've already just talked about my obsession with porphyry, and this is a faux porphyry tabletop. And the wallpaper comes from the wonderful Manuel Canovas and is suitably Oriental. Irish, Georgian mirror came from home. This is really where I do most of my work, both researching objects and art that I'm looking for clients, but also looking for inspiration for some of my designs of furniture. So continuing on the Oriental theme, I have lots of objects in here which are what I would call Oriental in a much broader sense. So we have a pair of beautiful Chinese dancing girls here, which are bookends. We have a Buddha here for a serenity, and a Japanese netsuke here. And this is the god of laughter. Hotai is his name. He carries a sack of laughter on his back. We have a selection of Oriental objects here, a pair of Chinese 18th century Blanc de Chine cups here, a pair of vases, and a piece of Roman glass here, which I absolutely love. And we have on our desk here, we have a jardiniere, which is one of the pieces that I designed, which is more of a Palladian design with the oculi in the centre and the rusticated stonework around the base. So these are some of my guitars here, and me and my daughter Grace, we both play the guitar and the ukulele. We both learned how to play the ukulele in lockdown, so we have great fun playing together and singing together. I have a wonderful music system in here that was very kindly given to me by a client of mine who's in the entertainment industry, and which is over here, and of course a disco ball, which is very important. I have a photograph of my mother. And so this is our family room. This is where we all sort of spend most of our time. This is painted in a paper and paints colour, which we've used in at least 4 of our houses, I think.
Yeah, love it.
And we absolutely love it. And it's a plaster colour. So we've used that in almost the whole room. And then part of the room we've stripped the paint back, like here, just for a bit of contrast. The mirror is Italian. Early 19th century, and we bought that at auction about 20 years ago. This piece of furniture here, again, we were talking about English oak furniture. This is a lovely dresser base, and this is a piece of my faux porphyry that I painted and I absolutely love some of our catalogues. This wonderful cockerel here was my engagement present to Sarah.
I love chickens.
Sarah absolutely loves chickens, and that's one of our Labradors. This piece of furniture, like the piece of furniture in the drawing room next door, is French. It's Louis Philippe. It's walnut, figured walnut, and I think I bought this while I was still at Christie's, actually.
You've had it ever since I've known you.
Again, a lovely, lovely fossiled marble top. So the woodwork was painted in a green colour, because Sarah absolutely loves the colour green. And here I've just put in some Palladian arches above both here and matching it on the other side. And this was all made for the space. And the ottoman, again, is one of mine, and we covered it in an Indian Kantha fabric.
So this lovely horse is a copy of a Tang Dynasty horse, was an heirloom from my horsey granny, who had a big influence on my life. She lived next door to us at home. Her whole life was horsey, and this used to sit behind her sofa, which I used to sit on, and it always makes me think of her. I think about her every time I look at it, and it's really, really precious to me. It's not valuable, but it's just makes me think of her every time I look at it, and I love it. We have various things from her around the house, including that old riding hat that she used to wear when she rode dressage. You wouldn't be allowed to do that now. It's pretty much useless in terms of health and safety, but it means she's always in the house with us, and that's really special to me and to the children.
Above the fireplace we have a Tuscan view that Sarah and I bought together in London. It must have been about 20 years ago. In the fireplace we have a set of, I think, Italian faience plates that came from Sarah's house in Kent, and I think they look rather pretty there. So we have lots and lots of books in this house and nowhere really to put them all. So this is just another wonderful place to keep some of our books. And here's another one of my jardinières in English satin wood, and that again it was that false rusticated brickwork. This is another one of my frames made in 2 different satin woods. That is in the south of France. And you can see it was quite a long time ago. The twins are looking very, very young there.
That was one of the best lunches we ever had, I think. On this amazing little restaurant, the Pockerel Islands, with a friend of ours. It was incredible. We have very fond memories of that day.
Yeah, we do. It was great.
Yeah, love the south of France.
So the house is, in essence, it's an 18th century farmhouse. And when we found it, had very good bones, but it was very run down. So we've done a lot of interior restyling, but we've also added the room next door to us, which we use as a dining room, which is an orangery.
That was a condemned greenhouse.
Yeah.
Just bolted onto the house. And I think you really opened it up, didn't you? You opened it up to make it feel lighter and fresher. And your use of colour has just really brought this house to life. You know, it was rather bland before, and now it just feels like all your homes do. Really so colourful and charming, full of all the things which we love from both our parents. And you know, you just display things in such an amazing way that it just makes it feel like a super stylish and cosy home, which we all love.
This is our dining room, and this room was a very, very old greenhouse that was actually condemned and was falling down while we were in this. When we first bought the house, it was falling down. So we decided to put a different room that will put lots of light into the kitchen. And I designed this with some help and got a wonderful roof light and doors over here. We were given a table, this wonderful French fruitwood farmhouse table was given to us by Sarah's father, and it's been with us in every house we've had. And I'm lucky enough to have a set of 14 of these Regency style rosewood dining chairs, which have also come with us wherever we've been. So it has underfloor heating, so it's lovely and warm in winter, and it's cool in summer. This is a pair of Palladian console tables that I designed, and these are Indian rosewood with marble tops. We have a pair of wonderful dogs from Sarah's father's house here, and right next to them This is my new Moorish collection, so a Moorish arch as opposed to the Palladian arches. And there are 3 of those. And the set of Italian faience plates on the wall. And in this room, we tried to keep it very simple. We left the brickwork and just cleaned the brickwork here. That was the old window of the old house there, which we just took out the window frame and left that. And over here, there are no pictures in this room, but we do have this fabulous mural here that was painted by a friend of ours. And the walls we just kept as plaster, and then I glazed the plaster on top to give it a little bit, a glaze finish in the evening. So we also have a collection of pots because we absolutely love pots, and we've been buying them since we lived in Dorset. And there are a pair here of semi-glazed pots, and of course a pair of fabulous faux porphyry columns. Very important to have them in a dining room. Nero had his dining room panelled in porphyry. Between them is an early 18th century brass-bound jardinière, and then the 2 doors we have a little sort of Provençal terrace out here where we have olive tree and 2 citrus trees. On the table we have a few pieces that I've designed as well, which you might now come to recognise with the oculi in it. A coaster here, walnut and ebony banded, and these little stands here. This is a little burr satin wood on a ebony stand. This is called a surtout du table, and it's mirrored so we can put things on it and reflects the light.
So this is our gorgeous country kitchen, which we love and spend so much time in.
Still has some porphyry in it. So this is my copy of an Italian pietra dura tabletop, which was the art of inlaying precious hard stones that was perfected by the Italians in the early 16th century Renaissance. And I learned how to paint it. So this is painted in purple, green and grey porphyry, and then 2 small lapis lazuli discs in the centre. I also went slightly Moorish in here, so we have Moorish arches on the paintwork, which is the same colour which is in our family room, so the 2 rooms sort of flow together. And this wonderful dresser base here, pine. This came from Sarah's father's house. It was in their barn for most of their lives, gathering dust, and we just thought it would look fabulous. We didn't want to have a completely built-in kitchen. This end of the kitchen we have our bar, and this is Miles's bar because of our wonderful photograph of Miles Davis taken at a concert in Juin-les-Pins. So we have a lot of other things. Obviously we have a lovely big disco ball. We have a lot of other sort of lovely things that are reminding us of places where we've been. We have painting of a view of a town called Lourmarin in the south of France, which we went to a lot. We have 2 paintings from there. We have a plate that was given to us on our wedding day by some really good friends of ours, and the back of it is signed by all of their handprints. And the marble that we've used, which actually isn't a marble, it's a copy of one of my favourite marbles, which is a purple marble called Calacatta Violetta, and this is a porcelain copy of it, which we used round this end of the kitchen.
Lovely Spanish heads made of straw that Leo gave me. There are so many things in this room which, you know, are sort of botanical because my love of plants and gardening. We had these very early botanical engravings which Leo and I bought together. These 18th century gourds which my father bought from Colfax and Fowler many, many, many years ago were some of the things I really wanted from his house, which I inherited when he very sadly died. Obviously the porphyry on top, with some Provençal pots which reflect Leo's and I love of the south of France. Yeah, those olive pots. We love the windows that open onto the garden. That's really special for us. And on a day like this, to have the breeze coming in is just a real treat. It's as though we're sort of in the garden, which is wonderful. And we can sort of pass things in and out of the window when we have friends here. And yes, my husband decided to take the front off some of these cupboards, which they didn't open the right way, so now they're open for easy access, which is fun, actually. It's really fun. Spanish tiles which came from my father's house, and we have an Aga, which is fantastic. Turned off for today because it's absolutely boiling.
It's a working kitchen,
It's a working
because Sarah
kitchen.
is a wonderful cook. So it really is a very functional working kitchen that we've tried to sort of make part of the house. And so this is my little wine and cigar nook. I've done a number of humidors for clients for their cigars, and this is one of mine, and it's rosewood with nickel mounts on the feet, and this is where we keep our wine and our cigars. I have a set of Russian drinking glasses from my godmother, who made a film in Russia called Nicholas and Alexandra, which she was nominated for an Oscar for. Wonderful film. And so we have our old and new decanters here as well, and really everything we need for cocktail making and merriment. And this is our downstairs loo, which, as you can see, is very small, and so I thought we'd go a little bit of crazy on the colour, and so I've painted it yellow and then dark green and then 2 reds on top of that, and then I lacquered the whole lot so it's slightly shining. One of my pieces of furniture in here with a purple marble top. This is a Palladian washstand. And we have lots of family photographs. We have some photographs from when Sarah and I got married. So it's just a little sort of fun little downstairs loo, basically.
Leo's always been the creative mind behind all of our homes. He has an uncanny ability to know where things should go in a room, and his colour choices, you know, I raise my eyebrows at first, but then it all works. I love it. I love our orange library. I love the purple in the house. The green. Green is my favourite colour, and it's everywhere. From our orangery with our lovely green mural to the paintwork, which, you know, the garden sort of comes inside the house, which is my favourite bit.
What I liked is I like the flow. I like the way that the house flows from the front door to the back door, to the garden door here.
You can see the whole way through.
And you can see the whole way through, and it's easy for all of us to live in. And we have our own office that we both work in, which is next to the drawing room. And then we have our kitchen here, and off our kitchen is our dining room, orangery, and our family room next door.
Leo just saw really good potential in the kitchen. The kitchen's always our favourite room in the house, as well as a library. I love cooking, and the children love cooking too. We all love good food, and so the kitchen's always very important to us, and this feels charming.
Okay, so this is the staircase, and we recently, in a house sale of Anthony Little's, bought a pair of these Uzbek chagas, which I think are rather beautiful. This is a slightly earlier one and a slightly later one. And we have a set of balloon engravings that my mother gave me for my 21st birthday, which have travelled around with me ever since then. And this is a pretty little French fruitwood side table with one of my Palladian lampshades on top, and a set of plates that came from Sarah's father's house.
So this is the second floor. It has quite low ceilings. It's a very old house, and we are a family of very tall people. So it was a slight challenge, but you
Very
know,
tall.
it's cosy, it's homey, it's cool in the winter.
But we wanted to make it feel, give it a
Yeah.
little bit of space. So again, this is, you know, painted in a very neutral palette,
Yes.
rather than, as you know, a lot of the house is painted and using slightly more vibrant colours.
Yes. It's a great space. It has lots of art on the walls, which we love. So when you're walking up the stairs,
It's a wide staircase, which
Yeah.
is fabulous, and it has this window at the top of it, so we have lots of light coming down
Yeah.
the stairs.
it's great. It's great, and we're all close to each other. So this is our primary bedroom.
So again, we've used the seagrass on the floor, keeping it all very, very plain. This is a pair of rosewood tables, came from our house in Jersey. Rosewood, so early 19th century, and this would have been Brazilian rosewood and with an ebony inlay. So we have a Tuscan view here, which Sarah and I bought in London 20 years ago. And we have a set of prints given to us by Sarah's father. These are Modigliani, again, not the real thing. These are prints from the show, his show at the Royal Academy, and we had them framed, and we've used them all in a set. And the other paintings around here are from, you know, a little watercolour here of Capri, the blue grosso, which my mother bought when she went to Capri in the 70s, and some drawings and prints and paintings.
I've always loved those lamps, the bird lamps.
These also came from home, and I painted these shades in different colours, so you have this funny striations of paint with the purple banding.
Oh, the lamps are really special.
Some rugs, a couple of rugs again from Sarah's father's house, which are lovely. This is one of my favourite objects. This is an Italian 18th century painted chair with its original paintwork still on it, and I love it. I have had that in my tiny flat in Chelsea when I was about 20.
Yeah.
And on this side of the room, so talking about rosewood and early 19th century, and now again back to the 18th century, a lovely walnut chest of drawers here. Both of these pieces of furniture was Sarah's grandmother, and Sarah inherited these probably about 5 or 10 years ago. Both very pretty, lovely walnuts. So early 19th century furniture and works of art has always fascinated me, and I was drawn to it really through the architecture, and the furniture was really mirroring the architecture of the time. Again, we are talking about a lot of the designs were influenced by Palladio, and the designs are quite architectural, quite simple, but sometimes using very exotic woods as the empire stretched further. Things like Brazilian rosewood, ebony, which came from either the Caribbean or the East Indies. And so a lot more exotic materials were used, but sometimes still of a very plain architectural style, which then became more elaborate as we moved further into the 19th century and indeed the 20th century. And so this is our bathroom, as you can see, also quite small, and I'm talking a lot about early 19th century furniture, works of art and architecture, and one of the people who influenced me a lot was a great collector called Thomas Hope. And he had a fabulous house in Duchess Street in London, and he designed most of the furniture that was inside it, and it was all what we would call of a neoclassical Roman design. And I've painted this room in that Etruscan Roman style, and some of these painting that I've done here are literal copies of some of his designs in these little panels here. But it's of this very Etruscan Roman architectural style that I love. So Thomas Hope was a wonderful collector and designer, possibly one of the first interior designers and decorators. So early 19th century, he came from a very rich Dutch banking family. His brother owned the Hope diamond, a wonderful prize diamond, one of the largest diamonds then ever found. So he was a very rich family, but he was doing incredibly interesting things in the world of design and interior decoration. And this room is really copying a number of his styles and my interpretations of his designs.
So this is our sort of tulip guest room. In fact, they're not tulips. These are poppies.
These are poppies, and
poppy
it's sort of continuing on that theme that I love that you saw downstairs, which falls under the general banner of Orientalism. These curtains and this fabric is by Bridget Singh. We absolutely love it, and we had the curtains and the fabric in our old guest house from the house we had before here, and so we took the inspiration of this room came from that. I also designed this pagoda-shaped headboard for the room that has this fabric in it, and painted the shades of these pretty little bird engravings around the house. So it was really inspired by this lovely fabric. And we have one of these lovely chairs here. We have one in our bedroom as well, a walnut of an early 18th century design. And these were Sarah's father was a very eminent surgeon in Harley Street, and these chairs were in his waiting room in Harley Street.
Not purple though at that time.
Not purple
They
at
were
that time.
covered in rather nasty salmon
They were
colour.
purplised by me.
Yeah, they were purple.
And
Purple
purple,
velvet.
by the way, has this, I think I was explaining about porphyry and just the colour purple, and only senators being able to wear the colour. And the reason is the actual colour purple was made from very small sea snails. So it was incredibly difficult to find and very, very expensive, which is why throughout the ages, purple has association of royalty. I started off, studied at a course at the V&A in decorative arts, and decorative arts have always been a real love of mine. I then worked for Christie's auction house in the valuations department, where I was lucky enough to travel around and see and value many beautiful houses. After that, I then worked for a private firm of art advisors in New York, advising across cross-collecting across different periods and different styles. And that has informed all of my interior ideas and schemes. I think one of the things that I love about this house is that it's got great space for all of us to live in. You know, for example, Grace has her own little wing. You know, she has her own staircase and her own little door, and it's her own space. Archie has his own room. He has his own bathroom now. He's quite grown up. You know, and these are things, it sort of worked perfectly, the right house at the right time.
And what I really love about this house, I love the old greenhouse, which is now our beautiful dining room. We have so many meals in there, the children have parties there. It always looks gorgeous every time of year, whether it's spring with the daffodils or Christmas with lights everywhere. Leo hangs lights from bamboos hung across the ceiling light. It's just great. The walls are a raw plaster, which are so interesting. And we have a mural that was painted by the daughter of a good friend of ours who's an artist. I absolutely love it. No one else has it. It's unique. And, you know, this house is cool in summer and cozy in winter. Yeah. It's just a wonderful house. Yeah. And there's green throughout. The garden is charming. The people we bought this house from before were obviously very good gardeners. They loved plants. And there's little surprises that pop up still, which we love. And yeah, and the garden's right outside. We did change the garden closest to the kitchen because it was just too much dark green topiary, and we wanted it to be more open and bring more light into the house, which has been a huge success. It's a charming little courtyard garden, which I can't wait for you to see. And yeah, it's a happy home. There's a beautiful breeze as we sit here on a very hot summer's day in England. And yeah,
rarity.
That's rare, but it's beautiful. We love it.
Welcome to our garden. We changed this quite a lot. This was all hard paved, and we wanted to give it a sort of more Mediterranean feel. So we put the gravel down. This was covered in grey slate, so it looked rather dark. So we put these lovely, more sort of European Mediterranean tiles in. And this fountain we put in, which is a copy of a 16th century Venetian dolphin. And then up here we have our seating area. This is where we sort of hang out, and I've got my Moorish tables here, which is a new collection of furniture I've just designed. So this is where we come and hang out and sit in the sun, and we've also got our barbecue here. So yeah, this is where we do most of our entertaining. And as you can see on this beautiful, very hot afternoon, this gets all the sun.
So this part of the garden used to be very, very much darker. The previous owners had planted pretty much the whole thing with box topiary. You couldn't actually even see these little pretty cobbles on the floor. So we opened it right up and just planted, I mean, as is obvious, we just love purple, white and green with a bit of pink. which I absolutely love it.
Lots of purple.
Yeah, lots of purple, but it's just
And then the idea, which is your idea, was a gravel garden, as you
Yeah.
can see. So we've got plants in here which hopefully are going to be quite drought resistant. We have lots of our lovely pot collection out here as well, which you can see. And we have other sort of a stone decoration like this, which came from Sarah's father's house here, and our lovely copper here. We found this in an old reclamation yard in Dorset.
We did.
Yeah.
And I really love the blue. This was Leo's idea to have the blue painted plant supports and the blue painted furniture, the chairs.
The
'Cause
chairs
that was John
are...
Stephanides, one of your heroes, wasn't
yeah,
it?
John Stephanides is one of my heroes, and that's very much taken from an idea that he had. So
Yeah.
I have him to thank for those lovely chairs.
Yeah.
And we planted these multi-stem trees and got lights underneath them with a box hedge around them.
And later on in the summer, all the lavender comes out. It's really beautiful. It is purple. It is full of bees. It's just a really special place. It's lovely. This is such a pretty rose. It smells delicious. It's wilting slightly in this heat, sadly. I don't think the roses are used to this kind of temperature in May, but it's absolutely lovely. This is a Gertrude Jekyll in the corner. Again, beautiful, very, very fragrant. It's delicious.
And we put these lovely balls on the finials on top of
Yeah.
the wall here.
And walking down into the sort
And
of
then walking down
lollipop
here,
garden.
the lollipop garden, and
Which
we've
is
got
lovely
lots
and
of
shady.
topiary. There's beech hedging here, which got cut into shapes above it, and this sort of creates different compartments inside this garden. And as you can see, this is it's lovely and cool with all the shade from the trees. And this leads down to our guest studio. Much of this was the same, because as you can see, all of this is well established. So we didn't change it very much of this at all. We've changed this a lot, but we didn't change this.
Yes.
So this was much more overgrown, much higher box hedging here, which we
Yes.
took out and opened it all out more.
We took out lots of trees. It was very, very dark and shaded with the trees. And then we had the lovely yew topiary behind you, which is another little compartment. And this is where the previous owners had their chickens, which I still long for, and which I definitely put my little chicken hut here, if I could. So this beautiful box, cloud hedging outside the front of the house, which is great. I love the shapes of it. It's so organic and beautiful. And it just encloses this little courtyard garden here perfectly. When we bought the house, this was all paved and it had grass, but the grass just didn't look great. So we changed the grass to gravel, which is just has a much nicer look. It makes the house look more finished. And then we just planted up, again, more purple, more pink, more green. And it's just a really nice approach to the house. And there's always something going on in this garden. So every time of year, when you walk through here to the front door, it's just, great fun and always something to look at. This home is really where our children have changed from children to adults. We moved here, they just started their senior school, their first year. That was a big move for them. And they are leaving school in a few weeks' time. And we have watched them change from young teenagers to amazing young adults
Yeah.
who are about to leave school. They're doing their A-levels now, then off to university next year. And it's been truly one of the happiest homes of our life, I think. It's been really precious. The children love it here. We're close to a town where they have lots of friends.
And they come home most weekends from school.
Yeah.
And now that they're in the middle of their exams, they love coming back here just to sort of relax and sleep and eat and hopefully do some revision.
It's a happy home
Yeah.
and we all love it. So this is our lovely guest house. This used to be a storage shed, in fact, and 1 year it got really badly flooded. We had most of our house stored in here, which was sad, but we took the opportunity to turn it into a lovely guest room. It's in the garden. It's a really special place, actually. I love it down here, and I spend as much time as I can. I sometimes come and work from here. We're right in the garden, surrounded by the birds and the bees and the roses and all the other amazing garden plants we have. And it's lovely. Everyone loves staying here. It has a really beautiful energy. It was another space for us to hang pictures and bits and pieces that came from my father's house and Leo's mother's house. This picture here I absolutely love. It came from my father. It's a really lovely wall. Again, it's a raw plaster wall that we can just hang pictures on, and everything looks lovely here. This rug we bought. It's not particularly old.
The kitchen I designed, it's quite utilitarian, but it has got those lovely Moorish arches which I gilded on either side here. As this is a guest room for us, that's for the kitchen. That's got lots of kitchen stuff in it, and that one over there is actually a wardrobe for people to keep their clothes in. And of course it has a porphyry bar top. The fabric in here is from Colfax and Fowler and is just keeping that whole sort of garden theme going. And the furniture in here is a mixture of old and new. And going back to what I was talking about earlier on, this is mahogany, so it's 18th century, and the paintings are all a collection of styles and dates, which is what I love to do in houses full stop. I'm very much, as I said before, a cross collector. So furniture and works of art and paintings in different styles from different ages that you hang together. This is a copy of a Modigliani, sadly, next to a very ornate Rococo style mirror that came from my mother's apartment in London, and a couple of chairs from Mum's apartment as well. Over in the corner is one of my newer furniture designs, and again these paintings are that I bought probably 30 years ago, and next to it I have an 18th century engraving, so again very much different styles and periods. And then over here we have one of my Palladian console tables, and this is in an English cherry wood.
Hello, I'm Grace. I'm Leo and Sarah's daughter, and I wanted to show you a bit of the decoration and my room, which is actually in a different section of the house. So when you go from the kitchen, you kind of come up a staircase, and this is all my space here. This is a mural painting on my cupboards, done by the same artist that did the mural downstairs in the old greenhouse. And I love it. It's a real focal point of my room. So Elsie also did these really fabulous pictures and illustrations above my bed, which I love. So we really love music in this family, and we've all got loads of, band pictures everywhere. And I love the Beatles. Me and my dad both play guitar, and yeah, I love this poster. It's been so lovely because I think it really, when you have someone in your life who's really passionate and interested about something, it sparks your own enthusiasm too. And I think it's like that with everyone and teachers, but it's been really special in my life growing up around a home that's really loved, and it just feels like a very special place. Like I've always been encouraged to bring my friends here, and it feels like a home. And also we go to lots of very interesting sales. So the robes from Uzbek, which you saw, we all went together as a family and we looked at the sale and walked around. So it's very special, and lots of these things around my room are things that my dad's given me or my family's given me that we've all kind of collected together, which is so lovely.
The word home means really for me the children and my husband. It's always been a place we've loved having our family. My sister comes to stay, Leo's brother Rupert. It's just, and Leo's always made the most beautiful homes. I don't know how he does it. All the houses we've been to, we've moved quite a few times, he just magics up.
I want them to be stylish but super comfortable, and for everyone to enjoy being in the spaces where they are. And that's really the most important thing to me.
And there are so many things that we have around us which belong to your mother and to my father.
Yeah.
And we look at them every day, and whichever house we move to, and we have moved several times, those precious things that come with us really make it a home for us.
Yeah.
They move to different locations, but they always look beautiful because they're properly old and beautiful things, all the memories.
Yeah,
we have so many memories in our homes, don't we? And you position them so beautifully that they look amazing.
Yeah, the story behind all of the pieces that we had is really, really important to us.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to Homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Laura. Welcome to my house in the Cotswolds. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Laura Butler-Madden, founder of British fine fragrance brand Grove, England, and here we are in my home in the Cotswolds. We found this house back in, I think it was 2021. We'd been looking for a little while. We were in the most beautiful cottage, but we'd kind of outgrown it. And it's really difficult to find family homes in the Cotswolds basically since the pandemic. It's become so popular. Anyway, we happened to drive past. This one had been listed on the open market, but we hadn't viewed it because it was a little above our budget. And also, if I'm honest, the photography didn't really do it justice. One day we happened to drive past on our way back from Burford, and we both stopped and said, hang on a minute, is that the house that we've seen advertised? And we realized quite quickly that it was, and it was actually rather beautiful, and we booked a viewing for the next week. We were really lucky that actually it had been under offer with someone, and then it had fallen through just at the last minute. So we came in and viewed it, and honestly, within about 10 seconds, we knew it was the one for us. Welcome to my home. This is the kitchen, which is an extension we built and just finished just over a year ago. It's an amazing space. It's so light-filled. We've got so many windows and doors. We wanted it to feel kind of like an orangery, and it has the kitchen, a lovely seating area, and then the dining area here. It's where we spend a lot of our time. It's so good for socializing, hosting, but then if it's just us as a family, Lily can spend time here doing her homework or coloring in. We can be cooking, and we're all together in the same space. So we wanted to make this space feel really light and bright. So I kept the color palette really soft. We've got a beautiful color on the walls called Holland Park by Mylands. And then I wanted to paint the kitchen units a really earthy color, but something a bit unique. So we went in the end for, it's called Leather 5 by Paint and Paper Library. And it just basically, to me, feels like we're sort of bringing the outdoors in. We're reflecting the Cotswold stone color. The flooring, everything is that sort of lovely, warm, honeyed feeling. And then we've added pops of color with art, which is how I always like to design. And the furniture as well kind of has texture to it. So this lovely table from Soho Home has the fluting, and it's in a natural wood. The sofa, which is a Camaleonde by Marco Bellini for B&B Italia, I chose this fabric with a really nice natural texture to it, so that everything, even though the colors are soft, there's a lot of interest. And over here, you can see again, this is a boucle from Pierre Frey, and I've chosen the stools with the natural cane. I really love to use natural materials in my designs. The marble is a big sort of feature you'll see throughout the house. We went to Italy actually to source the various different stones for different rooms. And again, it just means you can have quite a neutral kitchen color overall, and then the stone will add so much character and personality. I love to also pick up vintage pieces, and this is a beautiful vintage mirror from Paris, made with the bamboo. It's so beautiful, and it brings a bit of sort of beachy energy to the space. And I do think my designs as a whole always have a lot of that vibe. I think I sort of crave sunshine. You can see Slim Aaron's here. We have quite a collection of his photography. I love the elegance of the kind of period where he was taking his photos. I love the style. And this, I think, is in Palm Beach, which is a place I also love in the US. I always use plants. So we have this lovely fiddle leaf fig, and we have our own lemon tree over here. And because of all these doors and windows, it brings in so much light, they thrive, and we get lots of lovely lemons to eat or have in our G&Ts. And these windows are beautiful. They are new, but they've been made to look quite antique. And we added these amazing Victorian-style finishes to them to make it feel like, basically we wanted it to feel almost like it blended with the house and wasn't too new. These are gorgeous. So whenever I design a dining area, I always use a banquette as my main feature. I love adding pattern and color that way. I love the texture. I think it's so comfortable, whether it's a family meal or a big dinner party. I think it just makes it feel so much more informal and relaxed. And so this is a beautiful one I have bespoke made. It's covered in an Andrew Martin fabric, and the scatter cushions really help bring some pops of color to the space. I also love this table, which we found from RH. It's such a good length and size. So it all fits so beautifully within this glazed link, which is what we obviously designed. And when you're sitting here eating, you can look up the garden, you see the chickens pottering around, and at night it's obviously so beautiful. You have the stars above you. So it's just a really lovely space to spend time. The kitchen is always one of our favourite spaces to design in a house. I think we love creating something that's really, really elegant, but that also functions well, almost as if you could look down the room and not really know that it was a kitchen. So in this situation, we have done the shelf here with artwork and decorative bits on top, but it also functions really well because it's got a rack built in, which means when we wash up, you just pop things on the top and they dry and drip through, which is amazing. It leaves everything so clean and beautiful. And we also kind of have designed it so that these cupboards have a really beautiful height to them because it's such a high room, but yet we've got the lovely mesh from Armac Martin on the front, which means that you kind of slightly hide what's inside. So there's a mixture with everything, every decision we make, there's a mixture between function and sort of elegance and style. The details are so important, and Patrick's amazing at thinking them all through. And even things like this is slightly higher than a standard worktop height, which makes it a lot easier to work at. We also meant we could have the marble a bit thicker, which added the right amount of proportion to the space. I wanted the kitchen to feel modern, but with a lot of traditional touches. So these beautiful taps from Perrin and Rowe, they're in a beautiful aged brass, which as you use it, it just ages more and more and changes its patina, which I really love. I love to have things that sort of naturally age over time. And again, these handles and knobs from Armac Martin, they're beautiful and they're aged brass finish, but they do change as you use them, which I love. So we added as much as we could to kind of keep traditional as well as it feeling quite a modern space. One of the main things as well in building this extension was the house originally was a working farm and it hadn't been built with any terracing or French doors out to the garden. So before we added this, you really couldn't see the garden very much at all from inside. So when we were adding this, we wanted to create this sense of almost bringing the garden in. So whatever the season, whether it's winter or spring or beautiful summer like it is now, you just see all around you beautiful garden and the greenery, and it's just, yeah, it's amazing. It really, really helps to make the house come to life. One of the things I love the most when I'm designing is artwork, and often it will be my sort of jumping off point for a space. I'll see a piece and that might lead me to the color scheme, or it's just something that we all see and you have a sort of affinity with. So for me, this piece I saw, it's a local artist called Philippa Jeffrey. It's absolutely beautiful, the colors, and we had it framed in this beautiful bobbin and painted in a really soft peachy color. So I think it just really adds an extra pop of fun to this space. And then we have, coming through here, we have this amazing pantry, which originally we were going to do a playroom for Lily in this space, but actually by the time the renovation was finished, we realized she didn't really need that. So we have this beautiful butler's pantry, which is amazing because we can hide everything. Like if we're doing a dinner party, we can prepare everything around here and then keep the main space looking quite tidy. I chose beautiful stones again that really complement what's in the kitchen but offer a different finish. We have the same stone on the floor as the worktops, but one of them has been tumbled. The floor you can see has a bit more texture, and then this one is smoother, and so they have a very slightly different tone to them. And we wanted the natural wood in here to have a contrast. But back here we have all the functions. So we have our big double fridge, we have a second oven, we have a second dishwasher, the wine fridge. So a lot of the function of the kitchen has come round here, which is brilliant. It's also where I bring in all our vegetables from the garden to wash them, and this at the moment is a slight kind of where some of my plants that have been a bit sad, they come in here to get a bit of TLC. So it's a really multifunctional space, but one of my favourites in the house. It was an absolute combination of the house and the garden that attracted us to the property. I think the photography hadn't really shown off the garden at all well. We got such a pleasant surprise when we went out into the main garden and realised how long and big it was compared to what we thought in the images, and it has this beautiful orchard and a vegetable patch. And so we were totally blown away by that. It was mid-November when we viewed it, so things weren't looking very alive, but we could tell there was huge potential. The house itself, again, We couldn't believe the size of some of the rooms. The original part of the house was built in the 1700s as a farmhouse, but the Victorians added a lot of extra areas to the property, and all of those have really high ceilings, lovely like double aspect windows, sometimes triple aspect. So the moment we saw the light and the ceiling height, we kind of knew that was it. So this is what we love about the kitchen, is having all the doors open in the summer and bringing the outside in. This is the formal garden, which is a perfect kind of dining, relaxing. We sit here and have drinks in the evening. This little table here, we sometimes have coffee in the morning. This is very much the sort of formal garden, so the planting reflects that. So we've planted so many different things since we bought the house. It had some of this is already here. This arch was already here, the lovely old rose arch. And actually last year one of the roses sadly died, so we've planted a new clematis there. But we love the fact that it's not going to be symmetrical now. It's going to be a bit different. And these lovely urns were with the house. We've added so much to these borders. We've got all the roses, the hydrangeas are coming out. It's just a really beautiful, from May all the way through to September, October. It looks absolutely stunning. So when we did the extension, one of the things we wanted was from the exterior for it to match the house. So we selected a beautiful Cotswold stone from a local company, Cotswold Natural Stone, and we blended the colour with the house, and then we managed to find someone who did the most beautiful job of doing the work, because it's actually quite a talent to do this. So it looks so original, and it could have been here for a very long time. And we've got our lovely wisterias that are going to hopefully by next year be totally exploding across it. And the arches and the doors, we painted the doors in stone by Paint and Paper Library, which also really blends with the beautiful honey colour of the building. So up at the top of the main garden we have an orchard with lots of trees, apple trees and pear trees and things. But down here we have these amazing old plum trees that have been here for so long. And every year they are so fruitful and we make amazing jam from them. I can see already some of them are coming. So this is the main garden of the house, and when we bought it we did have quite a lot of work to do. We created this border totally new, and we added the greenhouse as well. It's very much a sort of functioning space, the greenhouse. We grow lots of tomatoes and geraniums in there, but otherwise it's just a kind of nursery for our plants before they go out. This border is beautiful now. This is the first year it's starting to really come together. We've got the lupins, the delphiniums, the peonies. It's such a lovely time of year. So yeah, this was actually the border we were digging out when I had the idea for Grove England. And it was such hard work. There was lots of really big rocks and things in there. It was like someone had like hidden a shed or something they'd knocked down, and we would just kept finding these huge rocks. So we were exhausted, and I paused for a break, and then that was when the idea came to me. So yeah, this is forever going to be very special for me. And then I'll bring you further up the garden to the veg patch and the orchard. So when we bought the house, there were some raised beds, but we had to rebuild them and add more. So we now have 10, which is amazing. And we put in these beautiful arches, which are growing roses up them, just to kind of have a bit of a definition between the spaces. It was one big sort of area, and we wanted to sort of almost zone it. So this is just the main lawn and the main borders, and now this is the vegetable patch and our raised beds where we do cut flowers, although I actually don't really cut them because I think they look so pretty out here. So we've currently got peonies, we've got the tulips that are just finishing, and we've just finally got in our vegetables. It's been so cold, can you believe, because it's so hot now. It was so cold until last week, and we're still having frosts at night. And so I've only just put the vegetables out, so it's looking a little bit bare, but we have lots of courgettes and squashes and beans and potatoes, everything. We grow so much here. Strawberries, lettuce. It's a really full veg patch, and we love nothing more than eating from the garden. And then this is the orchard area, which is so beautiful. We have, I think, 6 or 7 different types of apple tree. We have pears, we have, what else do we have? We have plums, all sorts. And this tree actually is so special. The first summer we were here, it fell, and we were so upset because it was a really beautiful old tree. But actually it stayed alive, so now even though it's on its side, it's still one of our best performers, and it has the most delicious apples. And because you can actually pick them easily, it's a win-win all round. So that's our fallen apple tree. And over here you can see the other trees here. we have, yeah, beautiful, beautiful space to come and relax. This is actually my dream garden. I didn't really know what my dream garden would look like. I didn't have an expectation, but now we have it. I love that it's incredibly functioning, and we have the vegetable patch so we can produce food. I absolutely love the different areas and the orchards. And when I grew up, we did always have a lovely garden. I wasn't actively involved as much in the gardening. I did a little bit thinking I was being helpful, but now I just get so much joy from being outside, whether it's watering the flowers in the morning or the evenings, whether it's being with our chickens. It is actually the dream. So I'm definitely more of a gardener than Patrick, but he does just as much. He just does more of the kind of heavy lifting. So he'll do the mowing, and if anything, big needs cutting down or moving. Whereas I have more of a natural affinity to like the plants and what they need and nurturing them. So we split it perfectly, actually. It's a good blend. So I think if I had any tips for people starting out in the garden, I think you've just got to start. I remember my first garden, we had the tiniest patio in London, and I just went to the garden centre, followed my gut, chose the bits I loved, and put them in the ground and watered them. And you learn quickly, but I think you just have to learn as you go, and the joy you'll feel when you see something flowering for the first time, or if it's roses and you cut it back and then it reflowers. I think that regeneration of nature just quickly will hook you in if it's something you're going to love. And I just went from there, and it's quite instinctive and intuitive. So I think trust, if you think it looks like it needs water, it probably does. And just trust your gut. We loved the fact that it had been owned by the same family for over 50 years. I think that felt like it obviously was a truly special house. We felt very lucky to have the opportunity to be the next caretakers for it. The other thing that really excited us was we'd had a house previously down in Dorset with this amazing kitchen that was really large space. They were former stables, and we had this space that honestly, it was just vast. It had, the ceiling height was like 4 meters, but it worked so beautifully as a family space with the sitting area, the dining, and the kitchen. And we had never dreamed we would find anything like that in the Cotswolds. But the bonus with this property was that it had been a working farm, and there were some workshops that were not, attractive or listed, that linked the house to the garaging. And we instantly had the idea that we could take those workshops down and replace them with a kitchen extension, which I'm sitting in now. And because the house wasn't listed, we were very lucky. It was a very easy process with planning. So that was, I think, the kind of icing on the cake for us. The potential was huge. Now I've shown you the garden, let me take you back inside and show you around the rest of the house. So this is the original front door to the house when it was a farmhouse. And then we've got this beautiful old staircase here, which we really stripped back so you could see the original wood. And then it's just such a different feel to the staircase you'll see next door in a moment. And then this leads us into the laundry room, which is the old dairy. So this is such a lovely space. It stays so cool. It's got very thick walls. And it's just, I always like to make a really decorative laundry room space to make doing your laundry and ironing a bit more joyful. So in here we put this lovely stripe on the walls, and I also chose a lovely marble because it kind of coincides and then links up nicely with the kitchen and the pantry. It's also very cool because in the summers when it gets hot, it's nice to kind of feel that the room has, it's a room that you're working in, so you don't want to get too hot. So we did this beautiful design, a really soft color green. Everything's very calming, very elegant, but also functions really well. The Miele washing machine and dryer are brilliant. So we have everything, and these dryers are amazing as well. So really good room, we love it. And this room seems to always be one of the rooms that's very popular when I share it on Instagram. This sink is a perfect sink to fill with flowers and do a lovely sinky, and we often have it filled with cow parsley or peonies, depending on the time of year. It's a great room for flower arranging as well, you can see on my pots, because it keeps everything so cool. So when we bought the house, this was the kitchen, and it's still part of the original farmhouse. It had this beautiful window where we had a dining table, and all the units were around the walls. And when we moved the kitchen into the extension, we decided to make this more like a hallway, a lovely kind of space that links between the old part of the house and the new part of the extension and the Victorian part. So it's like a sort of link. And so we have it very gently decorated, soft colours, but lovely wallpaper by Kit Kemp. It's like a really beautiful space, but the function of it is that we have our coat storage and boot storage in here. We have extra library storage and a beautiful drinks cabinet. So it's just, yeah, it's a really lovely space. As a designer, I guess, I often get asked what my style is, and I don't really know. I love nature, I love natural texture, I love to make calm spaces. So I don't know if that's a style, but I think a lot of people say that my spaces are always very calm, whether it's the house here, the new shop in Stow on the Wold, the comments of people there saying it feels like almost like a spa. So I obviously like serenity. And then natural texture, you can see in here, for example, the wallpaper has a linen texture. It's pictures of nature. That I would say is very, very reflected throughout all of my designs. I use Sisalon floorings, I use real marble. I love nature in that sense. So I guess timeless, elegant, calm, and lots of nature and texture. So this beautiful piece we inherited in our house in Dorset many years ago and had it reupholstered. This is a beautiful Pierre Frey mohair velvet. Again, just gorgeous texture. It's called a conversation piece, and I believe that historically, you would, if you were courting, you would sit, and you would sit here with the person who's courting you, and you would have a chaperone here to keep an eye on you. So I think it's a beautiful piece. Very rare now, actually, conversation pieces. But yeah, we love it. And it's come with us on every move since we've been in Dorset. So yeah. This is one of the favorite pieces I own. It's a very old vintage walnut burl bar. And we found it many years ago in a kind of sale, a warehouse sale of a very cool company called Talisman. And it was hidden behind a door, and we got it for a really good price. And we've had it with us for many, many years. And it's where I really fell in love with the burl texture. I kind of struggle to use dark woods in my designs, even though my father adored antiques and I grew up with a lot. And this is, for me, my way of kind of bringing in antiques. I love this burl finish, so you'll see it throughout the house quite a lot. Living here has been so magical. It literally, the gardens have come back to life in such a beautiful way. They had been really loved by the previous owners, but when we bought the house, there had been probably a few years where everything had been let go. And one day we were working really hard to kind of dig out the beds and get everything ready for spring. And I had this sort of light bulb moment where for a long time we've been working as renovating properties and doing design for quite a long time. And we were finding it very stressful as things changed post-pandemic and supply chains. Anyway, I paused one day while we were gardening. And I just thought to myself, I would love to do something that brings me more out into nature and that can celebrate the moments that I get such joy in the different seasons we have here in England, and almost like bottle them to be enjoyed all year round. I also felt from a professional perspective, when I've been designing houses, that there was a real gap in the market for something made with natural ingredients, but that was super elegant and super elevated, almost like a Chanel or a Byredo, but with natural ingredients. So then the journey began to create Grove England, and I was so lucky to be introduced to the most amazing man down in Somerset who makes a lot of the well-known brands. He was the guy who set up Cowshed for Soho House originally, and he loved the idea. He loved the idea of working with natural botanicals to create fine fragrance, and so the journey began. And we're actually, I can't believe it, about 4 years in now. I spent 2 years in development and we launched the brand in 2024. We had one collection initially, Anemone, which is a full bath and body as well as eau de parfum. And that's inspired by the kind of autumnal flowers that come out. They're the last flower really in the gardens as everything else is dying back. They'll stay until November. Them and dahlias are the two that last. And I wanted to create something that smelt like that lovely, the beautiful floral that's sort of still there, but with a very woody, kind of wintry base. And from them we've developed Snowdrop, which is our new one, and we've got 2 in development for next year, and it's just such a joy. And we've called it Grove England after the farm, which is called Grove Farm. It's been such an exciting time. We've only launched 18 months ago, and already we have our flagship store, which is huge, and I'm absolutely loving meeting people that come in, seeing their reaction to the fragrances in person. It's really exciting, and it's made me realize that for us, The goal is to have more of our own stores. We have a really lovely supportive market over in the US. We have some wholesale accounts there. But that for me is a definite goal in the next few years, is to find somewhere to maybe have our own small Grove England boutique. The reason I like having our own stores is because obviously my background in design, it means I get to create a space that's really calm, that really reflects me and the brand and everything that we stand for. For people to come in and experience that in person, it's kind of multi-sensory. It's the visuals, the feeling, the scent, Patrick's beautiful photography of the Cotswolds. It kind of brings everything together that we've worked over the last decade or more. It brings it all together. We've also really excitingly signed a partnership deal for global 5-star hotels with an amazing company that look after really established brands like Penhaligon's and Amouage. And we're really excited to see where that will take the brand. And it'll be lovely to have partners on board. At the moment, everything's been Patrick and I. So that's really, really exciting. When I was younger, I grew up in a beautiful house in Hampshire. I didn't really appreciate at the time quite how amazing it was, but it was a Queen Anne style house with beautiful proportions, very historic, with amazing gardens. And I think that's where probably the inspiration for a lot of my designs have come from. My taste is different to that of my parents. They were very much more traditional with their antiques and their finishes and things. But I think just the space and the architecture and the sense of history has really stayed with me. And every time we've renovated a house over the years, it's always the history of the property, the building, that always really stimulates my creativity. Speaking of antiques and growing up, this is actually a beautiful piece. It's my mother's from our house in Mallorca. And when I brought it in, I was really hopeful that it would fit with the house, because my style, as I say, is not totally kind of antique. But this is, it works so well. It looks like it was totally meant to be here, and I love having it. And it's also got that lovely cane texture, and I can see in it a lot of my style now. We're also very lucky in the house to have some beautiful pieces of art painted by Patrick's mother, who was an artist. This is one of hers. It's very Dali-esque in style, and I love the colours, and it's very fitting that it's sitting with my mother's piece of furniture. This wallpaper is something I've used a lot. We had it in our home in Dorset. I've used it in client houses and other renovations. It's by Designers Guild, but I'm devastated they have recently stopped this colourway. So it's beautiful because I love it, because it's so subtle. It has a really nice pattern, and it's quite strong when you look at the pattern, but the colours mean it's almost, you can put it anywhere. It's so versatile. So this is my study, which I absolutely love. I wanted to create something very calming, so I've picked this beautiful colour on the walls and the cabinetry and the joinery. It is Leather 3 by Paint and Paper Library, and it's got this lovely warm peachy tone to it. It's combined with a beautiful wallpaper, which is made of silk and has beautiful, the colour green. The green on this is sort of luminous, which I absolutely love. So that, I guess, shows again my sort of love of nature and texture. And this is the place where Grove England came to life. I spent 2 years in development here. And then the last 2 years, I've been in here slightly less often as things have got busy, but it was such a peaceful place. I had all my inspiration boards. We have, as you can see here, lots and lots of different samples and bits. There have been some of which have been signed off, some are in development still. It's been a really lovely space to kind of hide away in the calm, but also have this beautiful view of kind of nature coming inside. So it's been a really lovely place to create the brand. And I've blended the table with these amazing vintage Danish chairs covered in different sheepskins. I just love the texture of sheepskin. So we've got lovely kind of cream one, and then a more brown, different texture over there. But I love that they're all different. I think it adds a real sense of kind of interest to the space. And then if I show you over here, this is some of the collection for Grove. So we have, this used to be really full, but now everything's gone to the store in Stowe. But basically we have our Anemone Eau de Parfum, which was our first scent that we launched. And we launched that with a bath and body collection. You can see the body wash is here. And we have lotions and all sorts in that collection. And then we launched in spring this year Snowdrop, which is the most beautiful fragrance, really inspired by that moment when they first come up in spring. It's luminous and full of kind of vibrant greens, but it settles in sandalwood and spikenard, and this is so popular. Vogue actually even referred to it as I think it was their top 5 spring scents for this year, which is amazing. I feel so lucky that they loved it. So yeah, and we have our candles, which you've seen around the house probably. This is one of my favourite rooms in the house. It's our family living space, sitting room. We spend so much time here in the winter. In the summer a little less, we tend to come in the evenings, but it's so cosy, but also very kind of bright in a sense. Like the light comes pouring in, and the wall colour is Willow 3 by Paint and Paper Library, which we've wrapped across the ceiling as well. So whilst it's a calm space, it doesn't feel gloomy ever. And it's got pops of colour in the artwork. Here are some more of our Slim Aarons prints that we've collected over the years. This beach I love. It's in Harbour Island in the Bahamas. It's called Pink Sands Beach, and we've been on holiday there a few times as a family. So it's got a lot of memories for us. And then the rest of the decor in here is, I guess, similar to the rest of my taste in the house, but we've got like lovely light coloured sofas. I've added these Jonathan Adler cushions, which I adore. I've had these for years, and I love his style. I love the sense of fun. And they've got these beautiful embroidered beads, which kind of give warm gold, but also texture. And they're quite fun, the different ones. We've got the Adam and Eve apple, the bugs, which I love, and his eyes, which are classic. So yeah, that's the kind of main texture in here. And I love bamboo, which you might have noticed in the kitchen, the lovely vintage mirror from Paris. So Alfred Newell, who makes the most beautiful furniture, made this for us, which has got the bamboo detailing. This is from Paolo Machino, which I just adore. I adore the bamboo trellis. I actually quite wanted to trellis the walls in this room, but Patrick convinced me otherwise. And then you'll see across here this amazing 70s vintage lamp, which again is made with bamboo. So there's a lot of, I guess, subtle hints to sort of Bahamas, colour, beach, but it's in fact a very calming room. As you can see, Honey looks very relaxed there. This fireplace was original when we bought the house. We added the log burner, which is brilliant. It gives such good heat. In the winter, we'd switch off the radiators basically and just light the fire. The atmosphere, I love a fire, a real fire. I think it adds so much to a space. That and also candles. I do love to create coziness. We have lovely blankets here that are all folded away. They're so lovely. They're a cashmere blanket, and we each had our initials put onto them, and we use them every evening in the winter. You can see this lovely chair here, which I think is Andrew Martin, which is sheepskin. So it's just, yeah, a very relaxing space and somewhere we love to spend time as a family. So the house is a really interesting blend of different periods in history, I guess. The original farmhouse, it's really different, the style. You sort of come in the old front door, which is in that direction there. And then you've got this beautiful old staircase and the laundry room, which is all kind of part of what was the original farmhouse. In fact, the laundry room was the original dairy. And you can kind of tell it's got this very rustic door, it's got rustic beams, all of which we've kept. And then you sort of turn and you walk through one room, which we call our garden room, which is still part of the original farmhouse downstairs. And then you step into a different hallway, which is the Victorian part of the house. And you'll be able to see there that the proportions change. The staircase is more grand, the height of the ceilings, the doors, the front doors, it's all suddenly a lot more elegant. And in that area we have our sitting room and my study. And then from there you go up the stairs, and most of the bedrooms are in the Victorian part of the house. So they have really high ceilings, beautiful light, lots of windows. And then, yeah, so basically that's upstairs. And then when you come down here again, you come from the original farm door again into here, and it opens straight into this modern extension. So it's lovely to have that blend of old and new so close together. And when we were designing this extension, we wanted to really reflect the history. And so we've added quite a Victorian style orangery in terms of the windows. But then we have also got quite a modern glazed link. So it all blends really nicely together. This is the Victorian part of the house, and you can see straight away that the ceiling height is higher, there's more light, there's more windows, and this staircase is much more elegant and in keeping with a house of this stature. I wanted to keep it exactly how it was, so all we did was strip back and paint it in this lovely gloss. It's Leather 3 again by Paint and Paper. It's a gloss, and then the wallpaper that we've got running all the way up the landing to the top of the house, again, it's that designer's guild that I talked about previously. It's so lovely. It just adds a subtle texture to a really big wall space, and I think it would have been such a commitment to go for a colour, also to go for something a bit bolder wallpaper wise, so it works really, really well. So follow me up. I'll also show you the landing. We were so lucky that there was this lovely spacious landing when you pause on the staircase. So we've decorated it with a really lovely Italian chair by Bonancina. It's quite a famous company in Italy, and I've always coveted this chair. So it was the perfect spot for that. And then we have a plant and a lamp, and it's just a little area where you could pause, you could sit and read, and it's got a lovely high window. It's just a really pretty space. These wall lights are from Pinch, London, and I love again that they're a texture of fabric. And you can see as well we have a pendant in the same down there. And follow me up to our bedroom. So this is our bedroom, which was actually an upstairs drawing room when we first bought the house. We had to open up between the two. You'll see our bathroom through there. So this was a drawing room, and then next door was a bedroom. But we loved the fact that it was double aspect, and it had all these beautiful windows as well as the original paneling. We just thought it was such a stunning room to turn into our bedroom, and it's such a pleasure waking up here every day. The colour palette is really calming. It's called Onslow by Mylands, the paint on the walls. And I found this fabric from Liberty. It's one of their original vintage prints they've brought back, and it's so beautiful. I'll show you a bit more of the detail. It's very Art Deco, beautiful, floral. And that was my inspiration for the room, really. I found the fabric, fell in love, and then toned everything to it. We have this lovely chest of drawers, which Alfred Newell made for us again. You can see there's texture here with the lovely fluting on the front. This is painted in Stone 3 by Paint and Paper Library. So everything in here is incredibly calming, so that when you wake up in the morning or you go to bed at night, it's just a sort of really, really relaxing space to be. I had this beautiful piece of furniture made for us in the burr finish. It's I struggle to find dressing tables these days. They're really hard to find. So in the end, we had this made, and I had the footstool made as well in a mohair velvet. Alfred Newell also made us the bedsides. And the bed was also bespoke. You can see again, it really picks up my style in general. We've got the burr wood, the curves and the arches, which there are quite a lot of those around the house, and there's more in the bathroom in a minute. And the texture, it's a beautiful soft wool on the headboard, which you can't really see unless you go close, but it's got a beautiful texture to it. And we've actually reflected that next door in our wardrobes, so we panelled them with a fabric as well. The carpet is super soft, so everything, wherever we had any touch points, I wanted it to feel luxurious and super relaxing. This is definitely one of my favourite rooms in the house. It's very hard to pick one because I love so many, but I loved the original detailing in here. It felt so naturally elegant. It was obviously built as a Victorian drawing room, and the height and the beautiful cornicing and the panelling, everything came together to make us feel like it was just a really special room that we should really enhance. So we opened up between our bedroom and what was a bedroom in here that you accessed from the hallway, and created this lovely archway to link the two rooms. We thought it was the most elegant and gentle way to sort of blend. And then we have our wardrobe area here. So this back wall is all wardrobe and storage. As you can see, we have these beautiful panels with the same fabric as the bed on them. We've got the lovely Armac Martin handles that look like bamboo. There's a bit of a theme. You can see the things I love coming through. Again, they're painted in Onslow. It's all very calm, but very functional. Again, Patrick and I both have a side each, and it's really good for storage and hiding everything away. And then the main bathroom is beautiful. We always love to do something really special. Again, I think it links back to wanting to create almost like a sanctuary space. We went to Italy to source the marble, and we designed this beautiful shower to be freestanding and be like the divider between the wardrobe and the bathroom. So this piece of Dover White, it's called, which we sourced with Porter Bathroom, who are amazing and helped us build and design this. It was quite a feat getting it up the stairs. It is so beautiful. And I feel like marble is nature's art. It's, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of years developing into these amazing patterns. So I just think it's such a beautiful way to use that nature in your designs, but also to just let nature do the talking. We've also got the bath here, which is finished in the same stone, very relaxing. And we've designed everything in this space with the trees, with the soft color palette, just to be somewhere you just come to relax at the end of the day. And actually in the morning when you're having a shower as well, the view outside is of our magnolia tree, which is now very much in leaf, but when it was in flower, you have these cups of soft pink, and it's absolutely stunning. So we feel very, very lucky to have this room. I also love to bring artwork into all spaces, and even in a bathroom. This piece was actually painted by a wonderful artist called Kristen Gaudio-Ensley, and she's based in Brooklyn in New York. She painted this for our house in Bath, and it was during the pandemic, and it feels like this piece to me sort of shows calm, but has these sort of pops of, well, this is how I interpret it, pops of sort of almost like stress amongst the calm, but I find the piece so beautiful, and the colours tone so well in this space. When designing the bathroom, we really wanted to have a vanity each, so that was also part of the reason the shower ended up being the central piece to the room. So we made it again with the beautiful Dover White stone. We wanted the stone to be the main focus, so we managed to mitre it so it comes down in this lovely big block. We also created this really lovely, large, tall surround for the mirror. And it's so elegant, the height, because we've got the height in the room and the original features again. I just feel like everything about this room is basically about the marble and the original features of the house, which we love. But then you've got these amazing drawers for storage. Got to always have function, even where everything is focused on aesthetic and beauty. So very functional. We hide away all of our bits and bobs in there so we can keep it looking clean and tidy and lovely. And the floor is wooden, which often people ask me about. I always use wooden bathrooms. I think it's totally fine, as long as you're careful not to leave big pools of water sitting on it for hours. Otherwise, totally good. And I much prefer that to a tiled bathroom where I think it feels quite sort of, yeah, treacherous maybe. We're now coming into my daughter Lily's bedroom, but I just wanted to mention sisal, which I use a lot around the house, and it's all through our landing and the staircases. And I love it because it's natural. And people often ask me if it's okay with dogs and children. It is fine. I have realized that the trick to sisal is anything spills on it is to hairdry it. Damp it with Wiltshire first and then hairdry it out. If you leave it, it will mark. If you don't, it comes out. So that's my top tip for sisal. But I love it. I love the look and the texture of it, which makes such a difference. But yeah, this is Lily's bedroom. And it is lovely. She has the best bed ever. All her friends come over and they love going down the slide. I so wish I had had something like this when I was little. It's a very calm space again, but with fun. She chose the wallpaper, which is Molly Mahon. I chose the Molly Mahon strawberries on the blind and the curtains, which is so lovely. You can kind of see it's just such a fun fabric. It had this lovely original Victorian fireplace. It's just a really special room. We designed the wardrobe so that she had like a reading nook in the middle with a cushion and just like, yes, it wasn't just a wall of cupboards. This piece of art is really special to us. It's one of my dear friends, Catherine Cazalet. She is a wonderful artist that lives locally and I was at school with, and we lived with her actually for one of the lockdowns because we were renovating, and long story, we ended up in her annex. So this for Lily is such a happy memory of that happy time we had with them all together because yeah, she got to play with Teddy, her little boy, all the time. We had a lovely time. Today, Lily she's a little interior designer in the making. Not only did she pick the wallpaper and she helped me with the bobbin finishing, today she styled her jelly cats for the shoot, and I think she's done a really lovely job. You can see them on the bed. Her favourite few have made an appearance a lot of her others are in a way in a cupboard. She keeps them. That doesn't make sense. I think when designing for a child as well, it's trying to think of different stages. At the moment, she's just turned 8, so already it's starting to feel like she's about to outgrow the bunk beds. The good thing with here is the space is perfect for a small double, so we can see that being the next transition. Well, I'm not sure she'll let us get rid of the slide, but if she needs to have a bigger bed, it's a perfect nook here. And I feel like the curtains have definite longevity. She might once, when she reaches her early teens, want to change the wallpaper, but we've tried to design it to be something that can live with her and grow with her. And I think the pieces of art that I mentioned are kind of pieces that will grow with her all through her teenage years to adulthood. Living here has been the most amazing thing for Patrick and I. We have moved a lot. Before we had Lily, I think in total we've renovated maybe 15 houses, if not more. And I think we both felt we were getting to the point where we wanted to settle, just, you know, not just for us, but for Lily as well. And this house has been everything that we ever wanted in that. It's grounded us. It's meant that we don't want to move. We have no reason to move. Everything about it, the space, the light, the garden. We're growing our animals. We have chickens, 2 dogs, and yeah, Patrick has to keep me under control to try and stop me from having any more. And also now we've just opened our flagship store for Grove, England, locally in Stow on the Wold. So I feel like we're really grounded. And what has been amazing about that is it's freed up the headspace and creativity to channel that fully into the new brand. Before, it was so hard. I had ideas a lot. I knew I always wanted to do something with product eventually. But when you're renovating, anyone who's ever done it knows it's utterly all-consuming. And if you sort of multiply that by, you know, many times, plus adding in the odd client that we would help renovate as well, I think this house has given us just a whole new lease of life. And I feel so grateful for that.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to Homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.